Pizza presents STP. The Steve Dangle Podcast with your hosts, Steve Dangle and Adam Wilde.
Crown Royal.
Yeah!
April 5th.
6th?
6th. April
doing
6th. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Tomorrow's the 5th. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, hey, listen.
I'll be in Kitchener, so you guys have fun.
What are you doing there?
Kitchener Waterloo?
Yes, I'm going to be doing a book signing at Klutz and Chara.
Where they will not be drinking Crown Royal, at least not publicly.
They might be.
Who knows? I don't know.
They own the store.
What I will
it's up
say
to them.
is that Saturday night in the fully licensed Real Sports Bar and Grill in downtown Toronto, 80 SDP listeners. That's right, 80, because they expanded it just a little bit more. We'll be there, and we're going to have a good old time with Daryl Sittler playing against the Crown Royal goalie. And I actually got a message from somebody, and I think you'll find this very, very interesting. So I can't find it right now. But when I do find it, you'll find it's very, very,
Very on brand.
interesting.
It sounds like the Crown Royal details.
Oh, come on. Boo. Where is it? Well, there is a message saying, hey, Adam, is your mom sitting behind the seats behind Ray Ferraro tonight?
Oh, yeah.
And
What?
she did. She
Wow.
sat in the seats that we sat in last year when Boston came in and whooped Toronto's rear end.
That was the game Marchand didn't play, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
No, Bergeron.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry, Bergeron.
That was the game that changed the series. Had they beat them that game, series would have been over.
They beat them any game.
So wait,
Would have been different.
did the Leafs win that game?
No,
No.
because Bergeron was
No,
out
no,
and we're like,
that
this
your
is
mom
your chance.
was at.
No,
So I am the only one who's seen a Leaf victory in the MasterCard seats.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
All of you stay out of my seats.
and now they're the 640 Lotto.
Yeah, they're the 649.
649 Lotto seats.
Stay out of the Lotto seats.
Yes.
By the way, the Lotto
Stay out of
seats,
Malibu, Lebowski.
whoever's in the Lotto seats for Saturday night will not be at Real Sports Bar and Grill with us, the Steve Dangle Podcast. Hanging out with Daryl Sittler, taking shots on the Crown Royal goalie. Now, the message that I had from somebody was the guy that created the Crown Royal goalie actually listens to this show.
Actually,
Yeah, and it's a computer program. And he was like, hey, if you wanted a demo, and I was like, oh my God, like I can't, we don't have time to get down there. But they basically developed this thing, and it's very, very cool.
I might.
You don't.
I'll make time.
Yeah, we can go during the day.
I want to be the best at it.
I would love to go, but
Why can't Steve go during the day on Saturday?
because it wasn't an invitation on Saturday. It was an invitation during the week. And we were all busy.
Steve has time during the week. Send Steve.
Not tomorrow.
Today I got time.
Well,
Adam, how dare you?
Had time. Time's up.
I retired from gimmick shooting after the World Cup of Hockey
You
event.
whooped Jeffler's butt.
That was amazing. It was the Molson Canadian fridge,
Yeah.
and you had to shoot it like into this tiny square, and it opened the fridge. First try. And
you
I just
did
put,
it?
And I just put down my
One
hockey
for
stick.
one.
Literally one
Steve,
for one.
yeah.
I put down my stick, and I went, I'm not
It
taking
was
a
the
shot.
most impressive hockey thing I've ever seen Steve do.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
will ever.
And there was, you still have video of it, right?
I gotta
yeah, it's
find
somewhere like on your Instagram.
Oh my
it.
God.
Yeah.
Genuine
It goes
look of
back
surprise.
2016, right?
Yeah, it would have been August or September 2016.
Yeah, one try right into this small of a hole in a fridge. I'm holding on my fingers.
I'm just
apart.
like, are you recording? Are you going to turn around? What?
So
Here it is right here.
Oh, you got it. No, it's okay. You don't need to play
No,
it
yeah,
now.
no, here, wait.
No,
let's,
no,
here,
it's
let's,
really
let's
cool,
relive
man.
it.
That's
Here.
cool.
Oh, yeah! Sorry.
That's amazing.
I'll send it
played
to you
that
to
right
put in
now.
the thing.
It's great. I'm glad we all got to share in that, aren't you?
Here, airdrop it. to
Good
me.
for me.
Anyway.
Yeah, you do it.
Anyway, Crown Royal event this Saturday. Now, if you haven't got your confirmation email yet, that might mean that you're waitlisted. And that's okay, because if there are people that cannot come, because that happens, you are on the wait list. It's fantastic. Now, if you can't get to the event, let's say you've got tickets to this event and you can't go, kindly give them up for anybody who's waitlisted, because we understand life happens. And here's the thing, other events are going to happen. So even if you are not even on the wait list and you're like, oh, come on, this sucks. Well, you could sign up for the Leo Vegas tournament to play hockey with Steve and Matt Sundin. Or, we've been hinting at other stuff.
Yes.
You could come to the other stuff.
Or just job someone out of the spot.
Don't think
Just
that's
completely
recommended.
waste it.
Or I thought
No.
you were going to say
Oh,
this. Show up to one of Steve's book signings.
He's got that too.
You can do
Yeah,
that
but
as
we're
well.
gonna have like if you want to come to a podcast event, because Jesse and I mean that's cool. That's totally cool. But yeah, it's definitely
We're
go to
just
Steve's
done
book.
podcasts.
Yeah.
This is about Steve.
People ask where the podcast are, though. In Oshawa. There was a distinct lack of the and podcast.
Well, we would.
Was that my own book signing?
What's your book called?
This podcast
called
is ruining my life.
It's called No.
It's a good one. Yeah, it should just be called No. And that's the only word of the book.
It's 1 page.
And, I did see some people who were a little disappointed that they didn't get to go, and I understand that. I get it. Steve, stop playing with your microphone.
I'm trying.
Please stop, because now everybody's hearing. That's all they're hearing is that.
Oh, okay.
That's,
I've stopped.
That's Steve's fault.
Here's me
It's number
stopping.
2, man. Iceberg. It's number 2, Iceberg.
Damn it!
Just trying to steer the Titanic away from the iceberg here.
Listen,
no,
I'm an Oscar winner.
We are going to we're going to have other events. Not everybody can come to every event, and that's just the way it is. And that means that there's capacity. There were people disappointed when we did Hockey Night in Cinema, and there'd be 400 people there, and it was like, wow, damn it, I couldn't get in. Those used to be gone within a couple hours. So that's just the way it goes sometimes. However, we will have multiple events, so you'll have multiple opportunities. Cool? Multiples. Things that I was not good at. Multiples.
Yes. What?
And by the way, I'd like to start the show today with a message from Will Tarpey. This is a message I actually have in front of me, and he said,
Oh, go off, Tarp.
a Gucci breakfast consists of whole wheat bread. That is all. Thank you.
Oh, eat bread.
Come on.
No,
You're not going to give Will
Tarp's
that?
off. Tarp's off. No. Whole yeet.
Because the last episode.
No, yeah, we get it.
Guys.
We understand.
I thought there would be more of a reception to this.
No.
Well, Adam, you thought wrong.
You are wrong. Both of you are wrong. How can you do this to Will?
You know what we say to Will? Yeet.
No.
Yes.
Steven.
Yes.
I expected some excitement. Are you guys tired today? Is that what's happening?
I'm very tired.
Why are you tired?
I just had to get up early, that's all. Well, not as early as you.
10 a.m.?
Sorry, I had to go to bed late also. But yes, the combination. When did you go to bed last night? 6?
7.
Yeah, because you had to get up at 2:30.
Jesse went to the Ariana Grande concert.
It was pretty good.
You went to the Ariana Grande concert and then got up at like 3?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Work hard, play hard.
Definition of maniac right there.
Yeah, that's
No, but Jesse normally
dumb.
goes to bed earlier than the rest of us. He's like he's the most disciplined of us all.
Well, we knew that.
Yeah, so I was actually shocked to hear that you were going to that show, and she put on a good show.
Can't miss Ari.
Someone sent a message or wanted to send a message. They're like, what's the best way to get a hold of you? I'm like, well, the podcast email where an actual adult will read it.
I actually don't monitor the podcast email.
I do.
No?
Adam does.
Oh, that's you?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
I'm the one
Adam's not an adult. It's still a child.
I'm the
then.
one forwarding stuff to Steve, going, "Hey, respond to this." And when they follow up and go, "Hey, Steve, we haven't heard from you," I go, "Respond." I go, "Steve, please respond to this." So, and I actually sometimes CC Mrs. Dangle to make sure Steve's response to the response.
Well,
to
that's
this.
an adult. You approach the adult, and she does adult things.
She acts as your assistant / wife.
Well, and now the new thing is like I'll go into my email and I'll be like, I don't remember reading this, and it's because she went in and read it and didn't mark it as unread.
Did you take care of it?
I assume so. I don't know. I'll talk to her tonight.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool,
Yeah.
Steven.
So cool. This is a great show so far.
I
You
agree.
need that coffee to kick
Yeah.
in.
No wonder you all listen. This is really good.
Leafs lose the second half of a back-to-back
Sorry.
to Carolina. At the game my mom was at, she still had the best time. And apparently, she says, the way she tells the story, because she's a Lannis, don't you know, that she's sitting in the seats with her husband, Jim. And
That's just like Alanis.
yeah, I know, right? And John Tavares sits down and looks back and sort of catches her and then does the double take.
Oh, yeah?
And then and then she's like, I think his mom might watch me. I'm not sure, but I was like,
he's
wow.
John Tavares. Like, he grew up watching your mom.
And the funny thing was, is she said it originally. It was Austin Matthews, and I was like, Austin Matthews is an American. I don't think he knows who you are. And she's
Maybe.
like, oh, then it was John Tavares. Then we couldn't figure out which one it was. They were both big.
They are not the same.
Not the
They're
same.
both big.
Yeah.
I can 120% guarantee you John Tavares knows who your mother is.
Yeah. Also,
Like, you couldn't grow up in the country without knowing
Yeah.
who she is.
Maybe.
based on your description,
She won
it
a
could have
Grammy
been
once, I
like
mean.
Martin Marincin. Did she win a Grammy? When did she win a Grammy?
For which song?
Isn't it You Ought to Know? Didn't she win for
Sorry,
You Oughta
now
Know?
we're talking about. Yeah, I forgot.
I'm
the
just
bit.
keeping up the
I
Atlantis
forgot the
thing,
bit.
man.
Oh my god!
Wow. You created it 5 years ago. Are you okay?
No, apparently not.
Leafs
God.
lose the second half of a back-to-back, making Montreal's road much harder.
She has 7 Grammys.
7 Grammys. She won a
Jagged
Grammy.
Little Pill one album. That's a travesty,
Dude.
What albums came out in 1996?
Jagged Little Pill was the hottest selling album ever at that time. It was the fastest selling album. You wouldn't believe if I went through the stats about Jagged Little Pill and how fast that album sold. You could.
She changed the Canadian economy.
There are people across the street lined up for legal weed when you can get it in an alleyway just a street over. A lot cheaper in Toronto right now because we just opened our first legal weed shops, and there's one right across from where we're recording right now. Imagine that, but with Alanis Morissette albums and record stores when those
lined
existed.
up outside of HMV.
That's right.
Sam the Record Man. Yeah, I passed by that line on the way here. I was like, they must have amazing burritos. What is that shop across the street? Weed! Didn't know. Yes, Jesse?
The other thing that Torontonians will line up for is Uncle, I believe it's Testu's Cheesecake.
Cheesecake. And there's one in Union Station now.
Is it good?
Yes, it is. But like I said, I would not line up for any
Cheesecake.
damn thing because it's Toronto and there's good food everywhere.
Jesse?
I was just trying to see what other albums were released in 1995 because
There's a lot of great
sales
stuff.
does not equal quality of album.
Man,
So I wanted to see what it was
don't
up
be taking
against, but
shots
I'm
at
not
Jagged
gonna-
Little Pill. It's a pretty solid little album.
I don't know. Oasis dropped an album that year.
That was also a great album.
Jesse,
Was that's what's the story Morning Glory, right?
It's a jagged little take.
It is. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that was
Morning Glory
that was their best
did drop
album.
that
Do you guys want to do the show without me? I think it'd be better.
I mean,
Like,
no, I don't
for
think
real.
so.
Like, I think it would. Like, just today.
The Leafs lose the second half of a back-to-back, making Montreal's road much harder to the playoffs. That's the third time I've said that. Do we want to talk about the Carolina game?
No.
We want to talk about Garrett Sparks saying he'll be ready for next year?
Oh, my God. Like,
Did he say that?
Yeah, he said, I'll be ready for next
can't-
year, and
What's-
supporting
what's the-
Freddie on this one.
What's the full quote?
he can't help himself.
I'll be ready for next year.
That's what he said?
Yeah.
Well, because the context, I think,
Okay, that's what
the context was, this is probably your last start of the season.
yeah.
Well, and it is. It's the last start of the regular season. And God willing, it's his last start of the season. One, because he's not very good. But two, because it would mean Freddie would get hurt. Right?
Yeah. What?
Well, like, why would Garrett Sparks ever play a playoff game?
Why wouldn't he play the last game on Saturday?
Because the plan is
Mike
already
already
for Freddie
said-
to play the final
Mike
two.
Babcock said that he will play the final two games to get himself into a rhythm.
And we're supporting of this.
I am. Freddie looked really good against the Islanders. He's had a little bit of a couple days off. He wants to be warmed up. He had a rough stretch.
Okay.
I am okay with Garrett Sparks having played two of those games there and Freddie getting a decent chunk of days off. I am okay with Freddie playing the final two. Unless he gets dinged up tonight. Like if he looks hurt or anything.
Adam, are you also okay with
If
this?
Freddie gets dinged up tonight, then Garrett Sparks will have to be ready before next year. And I think
Yes.
that will be the ultimate challenge.
Yeah, like it's such a horrible and I mean you don't want to make a candid quote like that timid. He's really bad.
Well,
Garrett Sparks.
I respect Garrett Sparks because he does what everybody wants athletes to do, which is speak honestly.
Yeah.
But the thing is that
I think it's
Garrett
chastised
Sparks
for
is
it.
not the athlete you want to hear speak honestly.
Well, like, and this is the thing. Like, I've seen a similar argument about Marcus Stroman, and I'm like, no. There's a difference between speaking openly and honestly and it being unfortunate that you're being so open and honest. Like,
Yeah.
we want you to be open and honest and basically show us your personality. That's under the assumption that we would like the personality.
Right, and Marcus Stroman's comments in training camp were him trying to negotiate through the media, which is bullshit, and that never goes well. I don't know why athletes do that.
Cannot stand that player. I don't care what his record is, how good of a pitcher he is. I don't care.
I think it's just that he's a little boy sometimes.
Yeah.
And I like
us.
I like Marcus Stroman. I like the way he pitches. I think sometimes Marcus Stroman, like many people in that position, falls in love with Marcus Stroman a little bit too much. And I think he was dynamite in the playoffs, and that's great. But like, I just, like when Randall Grichuk signed his extension, the first tweet I saw was cue Marcus Stroman tantrum.
no.
Because that's how he set it up for himself. And with in Garrett's case, I think too much was made of him saying we need to play with passion and fire. Remember whatever that was a couple weeks ago? You had all the old guys on TV being like, hey, we're old, and we didn't like it. And there were people who were saying, literally, yeah, I might, like former NHL guys going, yeah, I might let a few shots pass just because blah, 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 blah. Oh. He didn't call them out. He said they played passionless hockey, which they did. He spoke the truth. In this particular case, Garrett Sparks has had, let's be honest, he had a pretty okay start to the season. He wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
Yeah. That Chicago game was ridiculous. But yeah.
And then, there was a 5-0 shutout game, which was great. But Garrett Sparks had a horrendous second half. Horrendous.
Dude, the Carolina game, none of those 3 goals should have gone in.
Now, the Leafs spent a lot of time in that zone. Had a lot of time in their defensive zone.
Were bad.
Yes. The Carolina Hurricanes had as many goals as the Leafs had shots.
At one point, the shots were 17-2. Yeah, that's unacceptable. But can 2 things be true? The Leafs are bad and deserve to lose this game, and also Sparks let in 2 bad goals.
Yes.
2 of them. It doesn't need to be his fault.
Aren't 2 of them from behind the net?
Come on, the one goal.
How do you have 2 shots going?
You can look at it. It's the same conversation we have every time. Okay, it took a funny hop on the first one. Mm-hmm. The second one. Okay, well, he made the initial save. Stop the puck. That's the job.
There are also some big fat rebounds that we saw, and that's the other thing.
Let's say you chalk up the first 2 to bad luck, bad bounce,
which happens.
Absolutely. Third one is a clean look at a wrist shot from not even that close.
To be fair, he owned that too in his post game. I mean, that doesn't help.
I don't care.
Okay.
I don't care. And listen, good on you to own it. It takes a big person to own it. This isn't the who's the best guy league. It's stop the fucking puck league, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the conversation. Stop the puck. Stop the puck, or we got to find a guy who does. Do you remember a single thing Curtis McElhinney said?
No.
I don't.
But we want athletes to speak out.
Yeah.
No. Primarily, I want athletes to be good athletes. Then speak out. Then I want to hear from you. Stop the puck.
Yeah, I don't think we necessarily
to be the good athlete first. Then speak out.
You don't want to hear from the guys who aren't playing well. Well, you do and you don't. You don't want them to say. Do you want them to have the confidence, even though they're not playing well?
I think that you can't have it both ways, guys.
Yeah, I don't know.
You can't have it both ways.
I'm on the fence here.
Do we want people to be honest?
No, I want people to read the room. The room, do you think anyone wants to hear from Garrett Sparks about how hard he tried right now?
No.
That's fair.
That's fair.
Right now. There were, the passion comment, I have a lot less of a problem with.
Well, it was fair.
Yeah.
It was a fair comment that people took and spun into something that, who cares what the backup guy says, especially after the game he played. Listen, if they play passionless games, and they've played at least 15 passionless games this year, not joking.
Yeah.
I don't think he's wrong. I think the Leafs need a spark plug guy. I don't think they have that right now.
What do you think Mike Babcock was thinking internally? What do you think he was going good on you for saying that, or do you think he was thinking to himself, "Shut the fuck up"?
I think option 3 is he doesn't. I think option 3 is he doesn't care.
Yeah,
I don't think.
That's probably more likely.
I don't think he gives a shit.
Mike
Babcock seems like the kind of guy I'll give you enough rope to hang yourself, and that's the. You go do your thing.
Yeah.
Really, what I care about is what you're playing on the ice.
He is not. Mike Babcock is not into wrangling adults.
No.
Show up to and I mean, sort of respect that about him. You want your coach to be active and be a great motivator, and you want the players to like him because they'll run through a wall for him. But he is not into people maintenance, people managing. You're paid handsomely. Show up to the rink, do your job. That's his thing. I don't think he gives a shit what people say into a mic.
Justin Hall, it was kind of any day in the NHL is a good day, whether you're playing or not. You're making big money here.
Yeah, and his opportunity finally came, which was nice.
And I don't think he did a bad job with it. I don't think he did a bad job.
No,
he was fine.
I mean, could have done better maybe if he played a few more games. But
2 things.
Yep.
On Sparks. His one funny thing. His save percentage when tied this year, when the Leafs are tied this year, is .885.
It's not an NHL goalie.
2, has he played, besides maybe Saturday, has he played his last game as a Toronto Maple Leaf?
No, because next year there might be an injury and they'll have to call up the third goalie. which
will be Garrett Sparks.
His contract looks like a third goalie contract.
Well, yeah, and that's the kind of contract, and I even said it when they tweeted it out. I was like, this is good value because this is a guy that it doesn't matter, right? Like if he doesn't. I think now going into training camp next year, you bring in a goalie to challenge Garrett Sparks. I don't think it's going to be Michael Hutchison. I don't think he showed enough.
It could be,
but
his contract's got to expire. Like it's too much money.
He might be one of them, but I think they're going to actively look for somebody else. They also have a couple rookies that are going to come up and hopefully challenge because those guys. Is it Joseph Woll?
Oh, Joseph Woll. Yes.
And
there's a bit of confusion there with him. So he signed to. I tried to get clarification on this. He signed to an NHL contract. He is currently with the Leafs. For some reason, he cannot play in the ECHL or AHL, but he can play in the NHL. The only problem is it would burn a year of his deal, which makes no sense to do.
Right. So next year, would he be able to play in the A?
I think that's the case. I can't remember. But like Ian Scott, once his WHL season is over, which I don't know if that'll be for a while because his team's doing well, can play for the Marlies, and he already has.
Okay.
It's confusing.
So those two guys are guys that, I mean, they're 19 and 20 years old. They're
intriguing
challenge.
Prospects, for sure.
They're intriguing prospects, and they're guys that are of the age that you could challenge. You would hope maybe that 21, 22 they would have to challenge, but...
Oh, wait, for a backup goalie spot?
Yeah.
No.
Earlier?
No. No, they're going to need time on the Marlies.
Okay. But
for sure.
what I'm saying is that they're going to have some goaltending competition next year. If Garrett Sparks doesn't get it, chances are Garrett Sparks goes unclaimed and he goes down in the Marlies.
I think if Kyle Dubas had his way, and this will be difficult to pull off, they still have Kasky Swo, and I think they just extended him. If he had his way, they'll have a backup. They'll have a Marlies starter, a Marlies backup, and they'll have Scott and Woll split time with the Growlers. I think. Unless one of them proves that they're just way above the ECHL.
Well, it'll be Kasky Swo, and I would think Sparks next year with the Marlies. I can't see, now I could be wrong, but I can't see them just saying, it was a one-off for Sparks. I don't think this is.
Yeah. Well, and again, if they win the game, we're probably not having this conversation. The Leafs scored one goal. Like, generally speaking,
Steve,
if
we've
they win
had
a
this
game...
conversation for 3 months.
Yeah, I'm just so sick of having it. And
so
you imagine that going up against... Well, no, we don't have to imagine. We've seen Sparks go up against the three-headed monster in Boston, and they killed him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jake Gardner makes his return to playing tonight.
Yeah. Can I say one more thing on Sparks?
Sure, yeah,
One
please.
more thing. It's not out of the realm of possibility he gets better.
Of course not. But he's 26 years old, Steve.
The reason, and goalies... get better a little later.
Not that much later, dude.
Not that much later, you're right. But the reason I will stand by the fact that he was the better bet to make, it was the better bet to go with the younger goalie, is because he's younger, right? And could potentially get better. So, who knows? Maybe
I think in a vacuum right now, which is what we're in, it looks like a bad move.
Yeah.
But, I mean, But now, whose chances of regression are faster, right? Like it's clearly Curtis McElhinney.
Yeah,
I understand why they did it too.
But now, you're the reigning AHL goalie of the year. What could he possibly do in the minors to prove he's ready again? Like if he gets sent to the minors, he'll literally just have to wait for his opportunity.
Yeah,
and get called up to the NHL.
Or maybe
and when he plays, he's got to stop the puck in an NHL game, or that's it. It's as simple as that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Dude, like there's certain players where you go, you need to do this more, you need to do that more, you need to do that. Goaltending, maybe I'm looking at it like a layman, but I think it's very simple. Stop the puck.
Yep.
There have been many goalies over the years who have stopped pucks far less graciously than Garrett Sparks, but no one cared because they stopped them. Dominik Hasek was an ugly goaltender. Mm-hmm. Tim Thomas was an ugly goaltender. Curtis Joseph. Go back and watch Curtis Joseph highlights. You can't make a save like that without being out of position. Just stop it. Stop the thing.
Jake Gardner makes his return against the Lightning. Jake Muzzin will be out, as will Nazem Kadri. Jake Muzzin dealing with flu symptoms because he had the chills last week, or last game, and then Nazem Kadri looks like it's a maintenance day. Mike Babcock said in the pregame with James Duthie on Tuesday night that he asked all the veterans and said, was it Tuesday night? Yeah, Tuesday night. He asked all the veterans, if they wanted a maintenance day or something like that. And he said the young guys will play. The older guys, he's like, I don't think Patrick Marleau's going to sit out, but the older guys may take a day or so. So this looks like it's, Nazem Kadri's day. And you know what? If you're Naz and you're dealing with whatever, if you are, because he hasn't looked exactly like himself, why not take this day, get it back together against Montreal, and get ready for your series against Boston?
I think he's looked all right recently. He's taken a few hard bumps. Honestly, do these final 2 games matter? Like,
No.
they're locked in against Boston, and if I'm not mistaken, they're locked in as the away team.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay, literally all I'm looking for these final 2 games is Freddie look sharp. That's
Gardner. Jay Gardner.
Yeah, and Gardner.
Yeah.
So here's
Who's back tonight?
The fact he's a game time decision, I don't like that very much.
Who, Jake Gardner?
Yeah.
He's not.
No, he's back.
Oh, he is?
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
I read some things earlier, so I guess it's changed.
Yeah,
Okay,
he's
good.
Jake Gardner, by not playing, and this is so interesting, has single-handedly changed the narrative on Jake Gardner. Yeah. I heard a Hot Take radio host today. Hot Take midday guy. And Jesse was listening too, and wow, was it bad. Holy moly. I'm like, you're not watching the same game I am, right?
What?
This guy, who I'm sure is a nice person, but said that Nylander had made a bad first impression, and we're like, this is his 4th season, man.
What?
And he's been playing
He said he's like, let's face it, Nylander's been horrendous. Bad first impression.
Yeah. And he hammered first impression for like a
40
good
times.
5 minutes and 40 times. Yeah.
And anyway,
Sometimes, okay, so this year I've gotten a glimpse at how much harder it is to do live stuff.
it's not
It
that
must
much
be
harder.
really hard.
It's not.
Well, because
Dude, we
why
did
else
it.
are they still? It is April. We're talking about Nylander.
Yeah. This is live stuff. This is live to tape. It goes up after.
Yeah, well, how is this
What
different?
do you mean?
I guess you're right.
And how is it different from what we did on the radio?
You did the radio. You do ice surfing.
I guess you're right.
What do you mean?
Yeah,
You
I
can have a
don't know.
not terrible take like
I'm just trying to
Nylander's
give
first
people
impression.
credit.
No.
Yeah.
Like, I liked Doug McLean, Nylander. There was a play where Nylander was part of a scoring chance, and it was part of a highlight pack that Doug McLean was criticizing. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, he had a scoring chance. But I'm listening to what McLean is saying, and I'm just like, gosh, shit, he's right. Like, he could have been a little harder on that play. Like, not gritty or anything, just
I think I know
So-
exactly what one you're talking about.
Yeah, there are, I think it was it the Florida game?
Yeah.
There are
He's right.
things to criticize about William Nylander because he's a player in the National
But
Hockey
that he's
League.
made a bad first impression when...
I don't know what you're talking about. Oh,
hold
did I?
on, though.
But
Hold
this
on.
was, we're talking about Jake Gardner, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
So
oh,
let me continue with this.
Oh, I thought the point they made was about Nylander.
Well, it was a part of the Gardner point, but we've got sidetracked, so I'm trying to bring it back.
Oh, okay.
So anyway,
Sorry.
it's interesting
I
to
gave
hear.
you the option to have me sit the show out.
It's interesting to hear
Should have taken him up on that offer.
everybody who hot taked about Jake Gardner being bad. And there were times where we've been frustrated on this show with Jake Gardner, but we've
All
maintained
the
that he's a
time.
very good hockey player. But boy, has the narrative changed
Yeah.
now that Jake Gardner's been out for a month and a half.
Yeah, and it's
Wow.
been
Everybody's
quiet.
like, wow, it's like every guy with zero researched opinion, like no nuance whatsoever, has said, it's sure going to be great to have Jake Gardner back.
Oh yeah, dude. The top 4, or let's say the core, is some variation of Riley, Gardner, Muzzin,
Dermott.
Zaitsev, Dermott, Hainsey, like some variation of that. That is at very least a middle of the pack D-core in the NHL.
And we've not seen that for more than about 5 games.
Oh my God! And Gardner was probably playing hurt those 5 games, knowing what we know now. Like they're gonna have to. This series is probably going to be the most fascinating of the 3 Leafs Bruins series, at least from the Leafs perspective, because I have, as a Leafs fan, like if any Bruins fans are listening in for intel, I have no idea what to expect out of this team. And
Know what to expect out of the Bruins, though, don't we? They got a brand.
you know what? Having watched them a fair amount, they tend to play a lot of Tuesdays for ice surfing. Something's different.
Well, I know they had a bad March.
They haven't had a very good March. They killed the Blue Jackets the other day. And did you see the fluky DeBrusque goal? Went like 20 feet in the air and dropped right on top of the net and then bounced
bounced in,
yeah, hit off Bobrovsky.
Great goal.
The Bruins, what's their brand? Toughness, right?
Yeah.
The big, bad Bruins, and they also happen to have the best line in hockey, which doesn't need to rely on toughness at all.
And not a bad second line with DeBrusk.
No, my goodness. And we know he's a gamer.
He
There
is.
are certain guys who turn it on in the playoffs. He was great. There's something... Remember when Lucic was the frigging sheriff? And then after a while, it felt like an act?
Mm-hmm.
There's something about the Bruins where they have an identity, and I wonder if it's wearing off a bit. I don't believe it.
Yeah, we'll see during game one, man. I don't know.
See. No, okay. Well, I do know they're probably tougher than the Leafs, and let's be honest. If the Leafs try to out Boston, they will lose.
Yes.
They'll lose that series easily.
The point is you can't retaliate to anything Boston does the entire series.
Yeah, Boston is Boston. But if the Leafs play their brand, like who's deeper than them lines 1 through 4? Who can move the puck better than them? Who can skate better than them? They have a bunch of guys who shoot high percentage because they're good. Like if the Leafs play Leaf hockey, they should win.
What is Leaf hockey?
Speed.
When have we seen it?
What was funny about the Islanders game is their speed wasn't what was notable about them. It was there. Ron Hainsey, who I think has looked actually good in the back half, boy, he was maybe the guy I liked the least against the Islanders because his foot speed was really exposed. The Leafs sticks. Their sticks were so good. Their stick checking was fantastic. I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple performances in the first round, a couple little dive skis, a couple little Michael Phelpses. But if the Leafs play their brand of hockey, I'm not going to say they're going to beat the Bruins, but they have every chance to. And this whole big bad Bruins thing, I don't believe it like I used to.
Okay, why though?
They got. I don't know how to quite put my finger on it, Adam, but they're not this. It used to be absurd. It used to be
Boydchuk, Lucic, Chara,
Marchand would stick you in the ribs. Then you'd say boo to him. Chara would come in. Sean Thornton would come in.
Oh, yeah, Sean Thornton. Right.
Chara's partner, on an odd line change, McQuaid would come in. And then, they have all these other guys who are playing 4 inches, 5 inches taller because they have all those guys. It wasn't that they had one guy. It's that the whole team could kick the shit out of you. And now I just don't. There's something different. Is
it off? Or is it the less scary?
Maybe it's off. I just remember watching Noel Acciari beating the shit out of Mackenzie Weegar and going, man, how does Boston always churn these guys out? And then there was an incident against the Red Wings, against Luke Witkowski, I think it was, and Acciari comes in because that's his new identity. He's almost like the guy from the beginning of Slapshot. I forget all the characters. The guy who turns into a biker because he believes in me. I'm the tough guy now. And he got filled in. There's who's the big bad wolf on that team? Chara, who's ancient, and
Brad Marchand's kind of the pest. You got Marcus Johansson's not. He's no slouch.
No, but who? Backus. The least
Backus.
intimidating thing Dave Backus ever did was say he's the new enforcer. I'd be much more intimidated by him going, you know what? I'm David Backus. I have my contract for a reason. I know how to score goals. I'm going to get back to that. Now he's like, oh, yeah, I'm a face puncher. Yeah, with a concussion history, and you're old.
Yeah. Ooh, and nobody's going to fight you now.
No.
Nobody's going to fight you. Now that you've said that.
Turn you down, and you'll probably take the extra 2. The Bruins they're a great hockey team. There's a reason they're ahead of the Leafs. There's a reason they're the Leafs boogeyman. But there's something different about their identity that I just don't believe anymore. Watch game 1, they make me look stupid. Wouldn't be the first time. Hey, Islanders fans, meet you at the flagpole. And sure enough, they beat us there. But the idea that the Bruins are just going to beat the shit out of the Leafs for 4 to 7 games, I don't believe it. There's a chance that they completely snipe on the Leafs for 4 to 7 games and beat them that way. And then the conversation becomes, see, the Leafs got punked and bullied around. If the Leafs lose to Boston, it won't be because Boston beat them up.
It'll be because they got outplayed.
It'll be because they got
Now,
outplayed.
let me say this. I find it so funny that you have so much positivity about this Bruins Leafs series.
When you didn't think they'd make the playoffs.
Yeah,
first
when
of all.
a week ago
No,
you
I
were
know.
freaking out about the Leafs not making the playoffs.
No, but do you hear the difference, though? With the Leafs, there's so much mystery now. I literally don't know what to expect out of the Leafs. Gardner coming back is such a crazy X factor.
Sure. They've had a weird 15 games where they're
Weird
kind of
15
been weird.
games.
not. They've been playing 500 hockey.
Yeah.
Like, it's not great.
Below at certain
Yeah.
times. Freddie turning in a good performance against the Islanders gave me a huge confidence boost. Because if they don't have him, they don't have a shot, right? Like, if they don't have Freddie...
That's how it's been for the last 2 years.
Yes, and that's fine. If your starting goaltender sucks, you stink. You
Yeah.
stink. Yeah, like, obviously. Tuukka Rask wasn't very good against the Leafs. They irked out a series and then got stomped, you know?
Yeah. You're talking about last playoffs.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So, you can maybe, ride that problem through a series or two. But even if you have a mediocre goalie, you can win. But they need to be at least mediocre. They can't be bad. And Freddie was bad for a while. Rested up, he looks okay. So that gave me a huge confidence boost. Gardner coming back gave me a huge confidence boost. A little bit of the unknown, so I give the Leafs a couple points for the unknown. I'm not going to imagine them bad. But watching Boston this season, I've been like, you're no different than any other team. Like, you're good, but you're human. The beast bleeds. Like, I'm not. They might win the cup. They might win the cup. The Leafs can beat them.
We weren't saying that from, when was it, January to
I know.
March, late March.
Because
when
they won like
didn't lose a
19 straight games.
Yeah, so if that team shows up, is like, how are you saying we're not scared of Boston when that's the hottest team in the entire NHL
But
besides
then-
Tampa?
That's
The
not the
10
team that's
straight-
been showing up.
If the 10 straight games Sabres show up, then they make the playoffs. Well, they didn't. And like another thing that helped with the Bruins streak is I watched how they won some of those games, and you got to give them kudos for that. But like they required some like last minute heroics against teams they like shouldn't have even needed last minute heroics against. The Panthers, the
they did
Sens,
it.
they did it.
Yeah, then you go to the Leafs and you're like, oh, you lost to Ottawa twice.
Listen, 3 times.
Sorry, three
times.
I'm,
Twice
I know,
to
I'm
the
giving them
Islanders.
too much credit.
Yeah.
That's another thing. A little under the radar story, and it's going to be really hard for them to make the playoffs. But if Montreal makes it, out of the 3 teams that Tampa could play in the first round, I think they want the least part of Montreal. Montreal's given them fits all season.
Also because Carey Price, if Carey Price is Carey Price.
Carey Price could win 4 games.
Oh, dude,
by himself.
you're the
Yes.
best team in years, and you run into that.
Yeah.
I have to tell you,
That could be problematic.
don't-
Although Steven Stamkos has lit him up.
I don't see why it would be, and I was going to get into this later in the show, so let's hold off on it. Let's hold off on Montreal.
Yeah. Seriously.
No, but basically, like we're looking at this the wrong way. Can the Leafs beat Boston?
Oh, no, hold on. What's the way we're looking at it? That you
Can
think?
the Leafs beat Boston?
Okay.
That's the
the
way we're
question.
looking at
They
it.
can.
That's
Definitely.
They could have last year.
Yeah.
They were beating them. They were.
But like, ask yourself.
were winning.
I know. Ask yourself something
Until
like.
the third period.
Yes.
Yeah.
Always
Until
the
there's
third
20
goddamn
minutes
period.
left.
Ah!
They were winning.
They were winning. You know what? F this. If that period had gone a different way, and poor Jake Gardner, god damn it.
But reverse the question: why can the Bruins beat the Leafs? And like, then you start to think about like different angles, and then do you think the Bruins are going to win the Stanley Cup? And a lot of you are probably thinking, well, no, because you're thinking about the other teams in the division and in the conference, and
Sure.
you go, okay, well, why? Oh, Tampa's better than them at this or that, and all of a sudden you start to see their flaws. There's this like boogeyman mentality we have about the Bruins. They bleed like anyone else. They can screw it up like anyone else.
Do you not think that Bruce Cassidy outcoached Mike Babcock last year?
Yep. And I think the addition of John Tavares makes that harder to do.
100%.
It's so funny that Ian Tulloch might be right after all. 'Cause in the summer, he went on Good Show with JD Bunkus and Ben Ennis, and he said the Leafs have this 3-headed monster down the middle. And they got this new guy, Per Lindholm. who's going to be their fourth line center. I don't know where his minutes are going to come from because you can play Matthews this many minutes a night, Tavares this many minutes a night, Kadri this many minutes, and then there's going to be like 5 minutes to spare for this guy.
You could say his season went pear-shaped.
Oh, you see, because how dare you. And the Leafs defense is a bit of a weak spot. And they got some guys who are coming off illnesses, coming off injuries, a couple guys who are ancient. Why not have 7D, like he suggested, and ride those friggin' ponies? Ride Matthews, ride Tavares.
Because you just need Ennis.
It would be one of the most interesting things you could do with this team.
However, who's the 7th D?
Rosen.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, really.
Do you like Rosen enough?
Yes.
Okay.
Sparingly.
Sure.
Sparingly for sure.
I wasn't being critical. That was a neutral question.
No, I know. But, like, if they're losing in the third period, you know, rather than throw Hainsey out there in situations that he's, like, visibly uncomfortable with, throw it Rosen.
And just energy levels. If you're switching 7 guys as
I just don't think you're going to get.
Easier.
I don't think you're going to get Babs to give up on Freddie the Goat being out there. That's for sure.
But like rather than have your fourth line, rather than have just Trevor Moore coming undone on the bench with this energy that you won't let him use, have a defender that you might actually use. You trust Zaitsev and Hainsey on the penalty kill. Great. Let them do that. You're probably going to take penalties. It might even give you the confidence to be a little bit more aggressive and mean if you're more confident in your penalty kill. Like, I'm just saying, it's an interesting idea. Try it. This whole Matthews and Tavares playing less than 20 minutes each shit is not going to fly in the playoffs. You're paying them like superstars. Play them like superstars.
Except in the playoffs, you're not paying them anymore. You've already paid
They play
them.
for free.
No, bullshit. Bullshit.
Do you worry about Kadri playing in a bigger role when he's played 82 games?
It won't be a bigger role,
in a diminished role?
It won't be a bigger role. It'll be he gets like a couple extra minutes. Like, how much time does the fourth line eat up? Like 8 minutes or something recently? So you're spreading out 8 minutes between 3 guys. So you give Matthews another 3, Tavares another 3, Kadri 2. I think he'll live. And those will be with like fresher teammates. I have no problem playing Ennis. I have no problem playing Moore. I don't even care if you keep Goat in the lineup and like use him on the wing every now and then and just tell.
He's
like,
looked really good.
Yeah, what's wrong with telling Goat 3 shifts a period, go out there and hit that guy?
He won't.
Without falling down.
He'll never do that. No. But he has used his body to dominate people when he's had the puck, and I've noticed that. There have been times
I don't think heading into the playoffs, it's that's not the guy I would take out, unfortunately.
Goat?
Yeah.
No, Marlowe, I might be the guy, or Brown.
Oh, God.
You're not taking Marlowe out.
But
you're not taking Marlowe. It's
Now,
not.
if you take him out of playoff games, then like consecutive streaks.
No, that doesn't count.
I also think
it's only
Marlowe's
regular
there.
season,
right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
you can take him out of playoff games.
You
That's
be
what I'm saying.
creative.
I also think Marlowe is going to catch people off guard.
Yes, I do too.
I think Marlowe
This
knows
could be it.
It's
There's
the
a
playoffs.
second gear.
Marlowe knows it could be it. Yeah, he's going to hit it. He's saving it.
Yeah.
He's saving
I
it.
agree.
100%.
I agree. And here's the thing that's going to be very interesting is monitoring the ice time, because a lot of Mike's toys are gone from last year. No more Leo Komarov 23-minute games.
Well, and now you have JVR but useful, a.k.a. Tavares.
Right. And I think that if you have played these guys for 18 minutes a night for the whole season to save them for the first round, you better unleash them.
Yes.
You better unleash them. It better be Matthews, Tavares, Kadri, Matthews, Tavares, Kadri, Matthews, Tavares,
Take
Kadri.
Bruce Cassidy out of the equation.
He can't match that.
No one can. Like, there are so few teams in the league who can go up against wave after wave after wave of that shit. There are so few teams. And I just feel like it's too easy to be like, hey, he's playing Hainsey 22 minutes. Just beat up that old man. And, like, listen, you know, Hainsey's no punk, but, like,
He's no spring chicken either.
he's no spring chicken. I tried not to say that, and I didn't,
boy.
and you said it. How dare you?
Oh, boy.
No, but, like, how hard is it to just be like, beat up the old guy? Like, it's a simple game plan. But all of a sudden, you got 7 guys, and you're throwing out Rosen, and like you can't catch them, and you're like, what is this shit? Like, mess them up, confuse them. Like the Leafs, this whole depth thing. Like, no, now that they're all coming back, like, oh, you must have forgot. And like, I'm just starting to. And listen, Adam, let's not pretend like you didn't catch me on a bad day there when I'm talking about the Leafs missing the playoffs.
Oh,
you might have caught me on a bit of a bad day.
could it have been cloudy in the sky and Steve had an angry drive-in?
You might have caught me on a bit of a bad day.
Hey, Steve, don't trip on your backtracking there.
You might throw yours out.
I might. Running backwards. That's how my wife broke her wrist. Fell down and went. Anyway.
Nothing to do with your back.
Nothing
but
to do
cool,
with my
man.
back.
That's great.
Nope.
No.
Had to say it. I was on a roll. I thought. Listen, we're here. I'm making videos for all the games. I'm going to watch them.
Oh, really?
I assume I'm going to watch them for a reason. Yeah, I'm going to watch them for a reason. I might as well watch a team that I believe in. And I've done enough mental gymnastics that I do. I do, though. And, like, so those are all, I've laid out all the reasons why I think the Leafs, like, take the Bruins out of the equation. Mm-hmm. I've laid out all the reasons why I think the Leafs are a good team and they can take on anyone in a series these playoffs. Dude, people talk about, look at the Blues, look at the Preds, look at the Jets. If the Leafs were in the Central Division, they'd be first. They have more points than all 3 of them.
Sure, but that's not how it works.
I know.
They also spent a season in the same division as Florida, Buffalo, and what's their faces?
The other people with the faces.
Tampa? I mean, they also spent a season
Who's the other team?
Buffalo, Ottawa, Detroit,
Ottawa,
Florida.
sorry.
Oh,
That's what I'm trying to say.
No, and that's fair. And the Blackhawks are the last place team in the Central, to give you an idea of how strong the Central is. So, believe me, I get that. But I think the Leafs, if they play Leafs hockey and they're healthy, can go up against anybody. Now, look at the Bruins. And look at this year's Bruins. Mm-hmm. Because too many Leafs fans think of the wrong Bruins. It's amazing how many Leaf fans are still in 2011 or 2013. Or last year, did you see this unbeatable monster?
No. I saw a terrible goaltending in the first 2 games. Terrible. And a team that was missing their second best center for 3 of the games for, in my opinion, still an absolutely outrageously long suspension for the playoffs.
Kadri, based on precedent, 3 games is nuts. Based on precedent, 3 games is nuts.
6 games, right?
Yeah,
6 games. But yeah, Marchand spears the guy in the balls, and they're like, oh, we'll suspend you right up until game 82, Brad. Don't worry.
Again, no confusion like last year. Kadri should have been suspended.
Yes.
3 games, get out of my face.
So you miss him for 2 games. Freddie Anderson had an awful save percentage. I think Freddie would tell you he had a terrible series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Horrendous.
If Kadri gets 2 games, you know when he comes back?
Bergeron game.
Game 4.
And you know what doesn't
There's
matter?
no way they lose that game.
But none of that stuff matters because you win the series if you hold on to a third period lead.
Yes.
And that too.
And everything before that's a
now,
race.
There's also
now,
Freddie's worst
the
game in the
X
series.
factor that you're missing out on this year is the Leafs do not have Thomas Plekanec, who was a hero in
so
the series.
great.
And I'm not even kidding. He really was.
The line was, no joke, Plekanec in the middle between Marleau and Marner.
Mm-hmm.
What?
That was the line.
Wow.
With Kadri out, that was the line.
Mike Babcock is a... Wow.
Something or other.
Wow. But what else was he going to do?
Marleau had 2 2-goal games, I think.
Yeah. The veterans came through.
In both Game 7s, a Leaf had a 2-goal game. Marleau last year and Cody Franzen in the 2013 one.
Matthews was mediocre.
Matthews was mediocre and injured.
Yes, he had a back injury. Yes. And it was interesting. Remember one of those press conferences Mike Babcock said, I put Matthews and Nylander out there hoping that they would dominate, and they didn't.
Yep. Kapanen is not a 4th liner.
No, he's not.
Janssen is not
a 4th liner.
Brand new to the league.
Yeah.
Yeah, or a healthy scratch in Game 1. Guys, you got to start looking at it's this year. It's this year's
Matt
Leafs.
Sundin said that.
It's this year's
him on.
Leafs.
Yeah.
It's this year's Bruins. It can be done. I'm not promising you shit. I'm not promising you a single thing. But if you're going to watch the games, you might as well believe they can do it.
That's possible.
Yes.
But is it probable?
No, I think it's 50-50.
That's just going to always be my question now. It's possible, but is it probable?
Yeah. 2 top 10 teams taking each other on. Anything can happen.
Do you
Also,
worry
it's the
about
playoffs.
Do you worry about Jake Muzzin and his illness? He's sitting out tonight.
Got the flu.
I think it's precautionary. And also, the Leafs, we're like a week away from the beginning of the playoffs.
Yeah, next Wednesday.
Yeah, and I don't know if the Leafs are going to be the Wednesday or the Thursday. I have heard whispers of Thursday,
But
nothing's confirmed.
Because they're going to put them on. They're going to put them on Thursday so they can put them on Saturday night. That's what they're going to do.
Well, that would make some sense.
That's always what they do. That's what they're going to do.
That would make sense.
You can't. You're going to have the first playoff hockey night in Canada and not have the Leafs on Saturday night, which is, sorry, everybody else, the biggest market times 10 in the country. Yeah. Sorry. No.
I can guarantee you that the Leafs won't play Wednesday because Muse plays at the TD Garden on Wednesday. There you go. I saw that on Twitter.
Oh,
so they can't play Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
They have to play Thursday.
So there you
next
go.
Thursday is the start of the playoffs.
Jesse Blake with the production. Fucking
go.
wow, man. Look at that.
Very good.
Muse, who apparently puts on a great show.
Yeah,
Yes.
I've heard that as well. Yeah.
My dad's a fan, I believe. Listen, there's a week left.
We still get
Surely
one?
he'll be okay. I bet if it were up to Muzzin, he'd probably play tonight and Saturday. There's no point. There's nothing at stake. What is at stake? Nothing. There's no reason. Any precaution. If it were up to... Do you think Kadri was like, sit me tonight, coach?
No.
I don't believe that.
No. Well, I could see it if you've had any chats with the Raptors who are just down the hall, they believe in that.
Yeah. Well, and like I think it's harder to rest guys in the NHL. At least the way the Raptors have done it. The Raptors played like the first month and we're like, okay, we're killing everybody. So like we have 2 super duper stars
and some pretty good support
you'll
casts.
be pretty lucky to ever see both of them in the same game. Like, you know. I don't know. I've been to 2 or 3 Raptors games this year. I don't know if I've seen both Kyle and
Kawhi.
Oh my God, Kawhi.
They've
in
been
the same
better
game.
without Kawhi than they have been without Kyle.
It's weird, eh?
Kyle Lowry's not a bad basketball player.
No, he's not. And when they have them both together, it's wonderful.
They got so lucky with Siakam because you plug in Siakam and he's like Kawhi and they're good.
Yeah. And
It's been great.
OG's interesting because he's had a bad off-court season. Like, he's had some personal stuff. Like, I believe death in the family and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
But that's another guy where I'm like, man,
I like OG and Anunoby.
if he comes back next year and feels the way he did at the end of last year without all the tragedy, that's another guy where I'm like, even if Kawhi walks, you're like, yeah, that's okay.
Also, don't the NBA playoffs start the same week as the Stanley Cup playoffs?
I believe so.
Yes, because the seasons got matched up this year because they extended they extended the actual end dates of the NBA season, so they started earlier, and then it's going to end at the same time.
Because they play like 4 games a week, right? It was like it was intense.
Yeah, so they shortened that completely.
Do you think MLSE is secretly like, that way the Leafs and the Raptors don't collide? Sort of?
What
Like
do you mean?
in terms of home dates?
Well, they wouldn't worry about that. They'd
They'd be like, hey, we're in.
the leagues.
I guess they would schedule
the leagues
around
work around each other.
Yeah.
That's a problem for hockey and basketball everywhere.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I would imagine, actually, that the NHL goes, what do you want to do, NBA?
Yes, I think that's how it goes.
I think one gets priority over the other.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Probably.
Just a little.
Probably. But, like, dude, anyone can do it. Anyone can do it.
Okay.
And if Montreal can give Tampa the trouble that they've given them this season, why can't the Leafs beat Tampa? Et cetera, et cetera.
So, again, repeat it for the people in the back. What do you need to see for the Leafs tonight against the Lightning to know we're on the right track?
Freddie to be good and Gardner to look like Gardner. I don't
Which
care.
is that's a tough ask after 15 games.
I don't care if they lose 5-1.
Okay, cool. Now, something.
I mean, I won't be happy.
Something
I'd
you might
rather them
find-
win and look great.
something you might find interesting, and I'm surprised that this happened on an interview in Vancouver. Jason Botchford, who is well-known reporter, especially in Vancouver circles, but has some insights into many, many NHL teams. No matter what you think, I know he's been a divisive guy in the past for people, but whatever.
Yeah.
On TSN 1040 in Vancouver, said that the Leafs, there's talk of the Leafs, who have the biggest analytics department in the NHL, and this, by the way, comes from Account for Hockey, one that you should follow. One of those great accounts that breaks down a lot of the interviews happening around the league. So Account for Hockey, follow James. He said the Leafs might be willing to go to $50 million in the offseason to support their analytics department. Now, that doesn't mean that they're just going to spend $50 million on people. That can be cameras, that could be calculators, that could be, I don't know what you could. I mean, I'm sure Rachel Dury could tell us what you could spend $50 million on, but the fact that the Leafs, who are probably flights, the fact that the Leafs are willing to go there is pretty amazing. And I don't know if that is $50 million a season. Doubtful. But maybe over the next 3 years.
I highly doubt that, yeah. Over the next, X amount of time. But it could be, flights, people. You're also not necessarily taking into account that their definition of analytics department might be different from everyone else's. Because for most NHL teams, it sounds like the analytics department is one person on a computer. That's basically what it sounds like.
Like Tyler Dello got hired this week as the VP of Analytics for the Devils. Is there anybody working under him?
I don't know about yet.
Because my understanding was the way the Devils had it set up is they had one person.
They bought him a T9 calculator. So
there you go.
Yeah,
Texas Instruments.
Very
interesting.
Yes, very, very
I'm serious,
expensive.
though. Like, and then you have Edmonton with zero.
Yeah.
Zero salaries.
Brandon Pridham is now assistant GM, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does he fall under the analytics department?
I don't know how MLSE would break that down.
This is what I'm saying, though. So the idea that they're just going to have this army of folks doing analytics, I don't think
you would need that. Like, how many more people do you need? If you have 20 to 30 people, that's enough people. It's the tools that you give them.
Yes.
There is no way that you need to process that much data.
Technology.
That you need 50 or 60 people. There's no way you need that.
I think a lot of it will be video.
Of course it will. It's expensive.
A lot of it will be. It's expensive. Well, and I think they want to do it internally. Because one thing I know used to drive them absolutely bonkers is certain broadcasts wouldn't have the game clock up on the screen as soon as the puck was dropped.
Oh.
So for the time
they have
things
that.
happen,
You notice that they have the when you go see a game now, all the games are filmed in-house, and they have the Leafs TV logo up on them. And it's funny that you mentioned that because that never leaves. So, the Maple Leafs Network, Leafs Nation Network, I work for them. Leafs Nation Network logos are up there.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's the reason.
I think that's
the in-house video.
Well, and that's like an example of something so small they can do to help out the staff.
Film your own games.
Well, okay, now let's think about, oh my God, what's it called? Market inefficiencies. Where is it hard to find hockey analytics? The answer is everywhere that isn't the NHL. So they're probably going to have a lot of in-house KHL stuff, AHL stuff, which I know has been a growing thing. CHL stuff, I imagine, would be big. College. I think they're going to have a ton of information that no other team has. That's exciting to me. It's exciting, man.
It's great.
It's cool.
It's great. Mike Gillis praised the Toronto Maple Leafs in an interview, also in Vancouver, said the team is operating in the correct way. He said earlier that he and Gilman, when they worked together in Vancouver, were able to get guys to take discounts because they each had different perspectives. Gilman was a cap guy, and Gillis was a former agent. So the Leafs, and it's true, and Mike Babcock even said this. He said this about the Lightning. He said... credit to them to get the players to buy into the salary structure.
Which is valid and also unfair and he knows it's unfair. Like, he's not saying it to be a dick. They'll take a discount because it's a good team. They'll also take a discount because dollars in Florida are worth more.
Yeah.
There's no tax. So you're going to see Braden Point's contract is going to be infuriating. It's going to be infuriating. If that guy was a Leaf, he'd be signing for $9 million, no less, maybe more. That guy has 40 goals.
So does Alex DeBrincat.
Oh,
which is crazy.
It just makes my blood boil.
It's almost as though everybody could have seen it coming, though. It's almost as though draft day, everybody's like, who the Leafs should pick? Alex DeBrincat. And who did they pick, Steve?
Yegor Korshkov.
How's he done?
I think he's practicing with the Marlies now.
How do you feel about Mark Hunter's draft record?
Pissed.
Anyway.
Do we know that was a Hunter?
Yes.
Directly?
That was a Hunter and Lou thing. They wanted big boys in the system.
He picked an overage Russian. It's weird.
I don't know why
pick
they went
was
with this guy.
confusing for several reasons. He might turn out to be fine.
What's fine? An NHL player?
Yeah, an NHL player who contributes. And that's fine. It's not Alex DeBrincat.
Well, the thing is that was the old school drafting, though. It's the same reason, and no offense to Freddie Gauthier, why the Leafs drafted Freddie Gauthier. When they drafted him the day of, they're like, well, he tops out as a third-line center.
Yeah.
In the first round?
They knew what they were getting.
No, what you want to get is you want to draft that guy later on. That's a fifth-round pick. You want to get a guy who's got a huge ton of potential.
You want to swing for the fence.
And you want to be able to take those guys and mold them.
And, those swing for the fence picks, the Leafs seem to like to make it in the third round.
Mm-hmm. Well, SDA, who's now with the Marlies.
SDA, who's now with the Marlies. Peterborough Pete's fans have been talked to saying he looks great. The Pete's didn't have a strong season, but he looks great. So did Liam Kirk, by the way. Mm-hmm. Jeremy Bracco is the top scoring player in the AHL right now. And again, I know, it's AHL numbers. It's not gospel, but it's hard to do that at the age he's at. Go for the little guy, man.
Well, look at what Sandin's done.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an 18-year-old kid that people... And Liljegren, too. I mean, I think he's been outshone by Sandin because Sandin's a year younger. But you look at what Liljegren did at 18 in a league like that. And now you look at what Sandin, which has even been better, you could argue, than what Liljegren did at 18. And those two together are quite good. They're making good decisions. Mm-hmm. They're making great plays. And they may not be ready for next season, but they're well on their way. It's the top end guys that you want to go for. Even Andreas Janssen. Everybody said the guy's got the talent, he just doesn't have the will, and it turned out to be asthma.
Yeah,
but he had the talent.
How crazy was that?
So they went for it. Ryan McGregor, who I was like, who? That guy is now with the Marlies too.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
They have a ton of the Emily Rasanen as well.
Yeah.
What a complete wild card. That's just a prospect we know nothing about. He lost an entire season essentially. Which can't be good.
No. Well, that was because they didn't want to play him, right?
No, he went to Europe. He could have played in junior. He went to Europe.
Because he wanted to make some money?
And then they didn't play him, and then I think he got hurt.
Oh.
Not to defend Mark Hunter, but DeBrincat did go 9th in the second round, so there are 30 teams plus 8 who passed on.
He was one of the dumb teams. Or the Leafs were one of the dumb teams. What drives me nuts about DeBrincat is I don't think he had the third 50-goal season. It was 2, though. It was back-to-back. Back-to-back. Heading into his draft year.
He had 3... He had 2 50-goal seasons and then a 60-goal season.
Yeah, and that was after he was drafted.
Yes.
Just to be like, by the way, you weren't wrong.
Yeah, 51, 51, 65.
I tweeted this out the other day. He has more goals this season alone than all but 4 of the people drafted in his draft year have in their careers so far.
Can you name those 4? I have them from me.
Austin Matthews, Patrick Laine, Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Nice. One more.
Clayton Keller?
Nope.
I forget.
Team that clinched the top spot in the West?
Matthew Tkachuk.
Tkachuk.
Yeah, and Clayton Keller. So Clayton Keller's a great player. Doesn't have as many goals in his career as DeBrincat has this season.
Nope. 37 total in his career. Yep.
He's
that might not
such
be Clayton,
a good player.
That might be Clayton Keller having to play with the Coyotes.
Yeah, and also being injured.
But DeBrincat's played with some pretty bad Blackhawks teams so far.
And
He also played with Patrick Hale.
That's true.
I'm not saying it to diminish anyone, but
listen, if DeBrincat were in Toronto, he'd be getting 10 minutes a night. Okay? Let's just be straight with that.
No. I'm
joking.
How dare you?
Actually,
What just happened?
No, I'm kidding.
Why did you say that?
The reason I said that is because Mike Babcock's frustrating with the ice time. That's why it was a joke. Everyone, it was a joke. It was funny. Justin Bourne tweeted today. I guess he went on the Fan 590 this morning, and we will talk about this next because Edmonton is going ballistic over one interview segment. But Justin Bourne talked about what we talked about on Tuesday, which was Connor McDavid potentially wanting out of Edmonton, and could you blame him? And his DMs were apparently lit up with Oilers fans physically threatening him. Like, I'd really love to kill you. Like,
Dude,
crazy shit. And
you two are nuts with your open DMs.
So I retweeted him and said, "McTraded to Toronto 2020, book it." And what was it? Where was I going with this? What did we just talk about? It was I've lost my
DeBrincat?
DeBrincat.
Drafting.
Analytics department?
Clayton Keller. Matthew Tkachuk.
Why did I bring
Arizona
this
Coyotes.
up? I brought this up for a great reason, and I've forgotten it.
McDavid. Justin Bourne. Justin Bourne used to be Marley's video coach.
I don't know.
DeBrincat scored 50 goals in junior.
I don't know.
Matthews. Jackal. It's Jackal?
I don't know.
Jackal.
I have no idea.
I
Forget
don't
it. Anyway, that happened. I retweeted him. Said
Okay.
traded to Toronto. Sorry, that story went nowhere.
Yeah, that's still a good story. I didn't know that happened.
And it's funny, Oiler fans were tweeting me. Some of the responses, though, were like, my chant for McDavid's return to Edmonton would be, I don't blame you.
And you said we're getting to
There were
something.
people saying, though, there were people saying that they're like, why are people talking about Marner for McDavid deals? And it's like, oh, that was us. Sorry, guys.
Because it's a fair deal is why they're talking
Also, we were
about
shooting
it.
the shit.
It's the logical. Okay. We're
not gonna do this. We're not gonna do this.
No, yes, we
in
are.
the trade between
my
the
favorite
Oilers
thing.
in the trade between the Oilers and Leafs for McDavid that is not going to happen.
Might.
If you're the Oilers, who does it
Gretzky
start
was
with?
traded.
Who does it
It
start
has
with?
to start with Marner.
Exactly.
And then Anderson and a first round pick. The end of the done deal. 2 firsts.
Where's the lie? Kindly point me to the lie.
I have an article, a 9-point article from David Staples to read you in response to Justin Bourne's 10-minute interview.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a point for every minute.
I'm
So what?
going
So
to
what's
fetch
it?
a pail of water.
What was the specific thing that Justin Bourne said that got everybody riled up?
That McDavid might want out of Edmonton.
Oh, okay. And
Yeah.
then
Here, let me.
No, that's literally
okay.
what he said.
That's okay.
literally what he said.
All right, cool.
And for the same reasons we did, because you know what? We pay attention to sports, especially sports outside of hockey. What happens when you continually lose? Star players want out.
Guys
What
want
a
out.
fucking surprise that is. Now,
in every league, top players who you're like, oh, that's a franchise guy, they get traded.
yeah,
If
exactly.
your team sucks.
Look at Anthony Davis.
Look at Odell Beckham.
Yeah. Antonio Brown.
Every year there's a guy.
Now, Justin Brazeau was signed by the Leafs to a 2-year AHL deal. Now, what's interesting about this guy is he's
Brazeau.
overager, had 113 points in the OHL.
21
21.
in the OHL, which is rare.
Which is rare because he turned 21 over the course of the season, so he was eligible.
Yeah.
And people go, whoa, watch out for those numbers, and they're right to do so.
Of course.
But depth for the Marlies to start. Maybe he turns into something. He's a big boy.
6'6", 230.
People in Leafs Twitter were tweeting that it would be the longest neck competition between him and
Pierre
Engvall.
Engvall. Daddy long neck.
Just the necks. And apparently Ryan McGregor's got a big neck too.
Oh, hell yeah.
So,
Taylor Doherty is no longer on the team, but that guy had a monster neck. He looked like the blue guy from the Monstars.
so Justin Brazeau, not a bad little AHL deal. $70,000 base and a $60,000 signing bonus each year.
Can I throw this out there? He wants to be a Leaf. Like, bad.
Well,
he
passed through the draft twice, could have signed with anybody.
Well, and he's been to 4 NHL camps, and supposedly the Sharks really wanted him. And he signed for... Guy's not even going to make 6 digits?
Well, yeah, he is. $130,000.
Oh, because the bonus.
Yeah.
That's still not a... That's not a very rich AHL deal.
Well, and especially in Toronto where it costs a lot of money to live. I could buy a fancy Toyota Corolla for that.
Also, where's he from?
I don't know.
What,
He was playing with the Brampton Battalion.
North Bay.
North Bay Battalion.
Yeah. Understand Butler. No, yeah, very, very strange season he had. Also, okay, so I looked this up today. 61 goals in 68 games. And, right away, 21-year-old.
You're like, yeah, well, you're facing 16-year-olds.
Yeah, tearing up
or
the
15-year-olds
OHL.
in SDA's case.
Yeah, 8-year-old. Yeah. And, tearing up the OHL. I'm looking for any red flag I can find. And especially, he had 39 goals the year before. So, 61 goals. I go, okay, who is the amazing playmaker on the North Bay Battalion that is setting him up for all these goals? You know who leads that team in assists? Him. He had 52.
Wow.
So, he just had a Gronk monster of a season. Now, how many 21-year-olds, how many guys who, their last season in the OHL was at 19 and they went on to do whatever, if you had them back in the OHL at age 21, would do the same? Might be a decent amount of them.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a great example of a bet.
Mm-hmm.
You're making a bet on a project. And with the contract that he signed, he's acknowledging that he's a project. Otherwise, he would have signed an NHL deal. You're telling me no one wants that frigging giant who scores goals? They're not going to use up one of their 50 roster spots in this guy? He's still technically a free agent.
6'6".
He could sign wherever he wants. He's not on an NHL deal. Mm-hmm. This guy wants to be a Leaf. I'm excited.
So that was an interesting stat, and I want to bring this up. So
shut up.
Bourne.
Oh, by the way, he's from New Liskeard, Ontario.
Okay.
Which is up by Cobalt.
I have heard of it. I don't know where
it is. Amazing how little people outside of Toronto, Kingston, Ottawa, and Windsor in London know about the rest of Ontario.
Oh,
it's so big.
It is so big.
It's enormous.
Yeah.
You ever been to Driftwood, Ontario?
No.
It's up by Timmins.
I've never been to North Bay or Thunder Bay.
The first time I drove to Ottawa, I was like, I didn't know this was a place. I didn't know this was a place.
Ever been to Virginia Town, Ottawa?
No.
Or Ontario?
No.
No. Where is, okay, let's play a game. West or east? I have no idea. Oh, all right.
You should say
that's another thing. Ontario goes so far north.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Well, it goes to the Arctic.
Yeah. It takes 24 hours to drive to Winnipeg.
It's nuts.
Insane.
Sorry,
Now,
I just
we should play a game called
Iceberg.
Northern Ontario Town, or Jesse made that up.
All
right, right now. Honey Pain.
Made up. Because a honey pot.
Real.
Honey pot.
Real.
What?
There's a place called...
No, it's Horn Pain.
Oh,
Sorry,
see,
I read
made
it
up.
quickly.
I was right.
Made up. You're right.
Boom.
You're right.
Winner.
You know where's the place? Moose Factory.
Yes.
Moose Factory, Ontario.
Justin Bourne, senior hockey columnist with The Athletic, speaking on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Here we go again by David Staples. His hope is that Connor McDavid will ask out of Edmonton.
Okay. His hope.
Asked if Edmonton Oilers captain Connor McDavid might privately ask for a trade this summer. Remember, I said next summer.
Yes.
Bourne said, you know he wants to. If it wasn't Connor McDavid and it was any other player, it would be totally understandable and justified and all the rest of the things. I do get the sense that he wants that. The biggest tell to me was the interview where he said he was really frustrated. The reporters gave him an opening to be like, okay, we're going to turn this around. And when they asked him, what do you think about next year? He was like, we don't have a GM. It was like he was done pretending. And he was just saying to reporters, like, let's just drop the charade here. This is not good. It doesn't look like it's going to get better. I'm sure he wants to get the hell out. And there's not really a way to do it without creating some LeBron James-esque firestorm with the decision. I would love to see it. It would be great theater, wouldn't it? All I know is I really want this to happen, which I respect Justin for. Now, David Staples has got 8 points. Sorry, I thought he had 9. He's got 8 points. My take. What are you doing? No one can hear that.
I'm trying to play...
What are you doing?
That friggin' song from the Jungle Book about a pail of water.
Oh.
I couldn't tell from the video what part of the song it was at. Also,
okay.
I don't want the video to get taken off YouTube.
Yeah, that's right. We don't want...
I'm going.
If you
go ahead, Dave.
Go ahead and sing it, Steve.
No. Come on, Dave.
It's one thing.
He's got jack forearms, eh?
Yes, he did.
Oh, yeah.
It's one thing to speculate that this might happen with McDavid either one day soon or in a few years down the road. It's always a possibility. But wishing his departure on the Edmonton fan base, which is arguably the single most supportive fan base in the entire NHL through a dark period of the franchise, what is that about? Who does that?
Stop! With your brownie point shit. It has nothing to do with the fans. It has everything to do with that joke of an organization. The Edmonton Oilers do not deserve Connor McDavid. I don't give a shit if he goes to the Leafs. All I know is that the Oilers do not deserve him. Oilers fans deserve better than the Oilers. Oilers fans deserve McDavid. The Edmonton Oilers do not deserve him. Oh, are we only 1 point in? Can't wait.
Number 2. I could see if Bourne were a Leafs fan or blogger on Twitter that he might well wish this kind of hardship on an opposing team. That's what fans do now and then. to opposing teams that they hate. All is fair in love and war and rooting for a pro team.
For sure.
But I never took Bourne as writing from the perspective of a Leafs fan. Perhaps he's caught up with the tedious anti-Oilers frenzy that is all too common among supposedly objective Eastern hockey writers.
They're shit, Dave! They're awful! They have been awful!
Hold on, I'm not done. To his credit, Bourne has said plenty of interesting and thoughtful things in the past, but hoping for great theater, quote-unquote, at the expense of a loyal fan base is glib and callous.
Stop.
Glib and callous. You know what's glib and callous? Trading Taylor Hall for Adam Larson 1-for-1 and spending an entire 2 seasons defending the trade. That's glib and callous.
But what of his boat license? Adam Larson got his boat license on his first try.
Eastern sports writers have gone with the McDavid wants out of Edmonton narratives ever since they read into his facial expressions when Edmonton won the lottery.
He looked miserable then. He looked miserable now. He was right then, and he's right now.
The hard truth is that this kind of nonsense will never end. It will quiet if the Oilers...
You got that right, Dave.
It will quiet if the Oilers finally hire the right manager and coach to build a Stanley Cup winning team around McDavid.
Yeah,
But
if I had wheels, I'd be a wagon.
But it will never end. Some Toronto sports writers want McDavid on the Leafs.
Yeah.
They're still sore Toronto didn't win that lottery, and they won't ever let up. I have to be honest with you. I don't think that's true. I honestly don't.
Here's me being sore.
Austin Matthews made that all better. And watching Mitch Marner, who honestly was the second
what
best.
the hell is that?
I don't think we believe that.
Nobody.
You know what? No,
I'm not a
in
Toronto
fairness
sports
to
writer.
Dave, does a day pass when we don't say to ourselves, gosh, if only we could trade places with the Oilers? Stop!
I've argued in the past that losing that lottery was the best thing that ever happened to the Leafs because it got the Marner and then it got the Matthews the next year. They had better... I honestly think it was the best thing that could have happened for Toronto because McDavid would have come in, lit it up, and we would have been like, we would have become the new Oilers. Well, maybe not, but still. We wouldn't have had the same talent pool. I think it's better to have more talent spread among 3 guys than it is to have... Like it would have been like Nylander, McDavid, and guy who went 16th in the draft rather than guy who went first overall.
We needed one more year of them being bad and guys getting fired.
And we wouldn't have had that if McDavid was on the team.
We weren't ready yet.
We needed one. Yeah.
We weren't ready for McDavid.
Because imagine McDavid playing in between Brad Boys and P.A. Parento. Because that's what that roster was that year.
Ooh, look up the wingers from the 15-16 year and let's see if it's better than who he's playing with now. Sorry. Yes, Adam? We're never going to get through this.
No, we are.
Because, wow, the takes.
Point number 4. It's worth noting that not all Toronto media go to bed in Leafs PJs.
Well, listen, they're comfortable and practical.
There are some excellent reporters and commentators, such as TSN's Bob McKenzie and Sportsnet's Elliot Friedman. They're both completely professional, and they strive to be fair and accurate in their commentary and reporting. In that regard, here's what a solid source like Friedman recently had to say to Bob Stauffer on Oilers Now about the McDavid situation, that Friedman would not be surprised if McDavid's representation had some say in the decision on who is the Oilers GM, which we said last episode, I am the captain now.
Yes. Yes. Okay, the player trusts the team so little
that his agent...
Dave, thanks.
But Friedman said... McDavid believes his job is to play hockey, and he doesn't want to be the guy who dictates what they should do. Well, that's 2 different things.
Wait, is that what he said?
Yes.
2 different things?
So Friedman said he wouldn't be surprised if McDavid's representation would have some say on the decision on who the Oilers hire as GM. But Friedman also said McDavid believes his job is to play hockey and doesn't want to be the guy who dictates. Well, are you going to dictate or not? It's one or the other.
No, I think it means it's something he doesn't want to do, but something he feels like he has to do because they are incompetent.
Here's what Friedge said. If I'm the Oilers, the biggest question I have now is how long until he gets fed up? I think he's going to give you the chance to get this hire right and work this out. So you have to get this right, because if it continues this way for another year or 2, eventually he's going to say, I've had enough.
Dave didn't know what to write today. Like, I'm not even going to hold it against him. He didn't know what to write.
2 years from now.
And this was the thing. It was big on Twitter.
If 2 years from now the Oilers are still a dog franchise, this is point number 5, it could well be that McDavid has had enough. But I don't think that will happen. First off, I'm an Oilers fan, and I don't think that.
Okay, great. So we're just 2 fans talking then.
Yes.
So this is a fan writing about awful fans.
So he's upset about Justin Bourne being a fan.
He didn't know what to write today. Like, I'm not even
Didn't
gonna
he start the article by criticizing
Justin
the
Bourne for being a fan?
He didn't know what to write today.
I don't.
But Oilers, and by the way, Justin Bourne is an Islanders fan.
Yeah.
Yes.
His dad was on the Islanders.
He used to work for the Leafs.
Yeah, but he's a diehard Islanders fan. Get the hell out of here with this.
This is the second time someone in Edmonton did not know who Justin Bourne is.
But I also think the Oilers will continue to. But I also don't think the Oilers will continue to be so bad.
Based on what?
As poor as he was at making trades, Oilers GM Peter Chiarelli took some significant steps in restocking the Oilers farm system, and that effort is about to pay off with a new wave of talent this year with Tyler Benson, Caleb Jones, Shane Starrett, Cooper Marody, Ethan Bear, William Legason, Joel Pessin, Joe Gambriella, Kyler Yamamoto, and Evan Bouchard pushing to make the Oilers. He's not wrong about that.
No, they got some dudes.
2 or 3 of them will succeed and bolster the skill and speed of this team, which, to be fair to David, it's not hard to bolster the skill of one of the worst teams that we've ever seen.
Yes. Yes.
That's not hard.
You want a playoff team. You want to put together a team that every night wins or has a chance to win the Battle of Alberta. The Oilers don't have that. The Oilers are not close to the Flames at the moment.
You're gonna love point 6 because it begins with finally, even though it's the third last point. Finally,
What?
I don't see McDavid as a quitter, but as a young leader who is going to dig in here and will skill this team to victory. I think that's how Peter Chiarelli saw it too. Worked out well. My take on this interview is that he had just found out then that the Oilers were officially eliminated from the playoffs and justifiably was ticked off and frustrated. He had vowed to lead his team into the playoffs and it was killing him that it had not happened. Agree with you, David.
Totally.
It sucks, obviously, McDavid said of the season. It's not good enough. It's not good enough all year. We let streaks drag on. We let times where we couldn't find ways to win drag on. You got to find a way to stop the bleeding quick. It's a slim margin of error in this league. It's been an insane season. The coaching change, GM change, the good times, the bad times. It's all been a roller coaster. It's been emotionally challenging. It's been hard mentally to kind of keep on going. But we were always kind of right there. We were close and then we drift away, and that's the way it goes. We want to play in the playoffs as a team. I want to play in the playoffs. I'm not happy about it. It's going to be a long summer. Point 7. Why would anyone expect McDavid to be happy? I believe that was Justin Bourne's point, David, but we'll continue.
What?
He's the captain of this team, and this team was no good. And why would anyone, including him, be happy with Chiarelli's running of the team and disruptions this year? It was far from ideal.
Did he have to write 9?
He wrote 8. He did not have to write 9, and therefore didn't.
Oh, my God.
This is point number 8. All that said.
He could have done 5.
All that said.
Could have done 0.
Well, when he said finally, it could have been finally. Could
have been the title.
Number 8, all that said, Chiarelli was an experienced NHL GM. Todd McLellan and Ken Hitchcock are experienced and successful NHL coaches. This wasn't some gong show where the team was handed over to incompetence. I'm going to reread that for you.
Yes, please.
All that said,
I think I blew a fuse.
Chiarelli was an experienced NHL GM. By the way, if you're an Oilers fan, listen long and hard to this. All that said, Chiarelli was an experienced NHL GM.
Not wrong.
Todd McLellan and Ken Hitchcock, experienced and successful NHL coaches.
Correct.
Sure. 2 points that are factually true.
Yes.
This wasn't some gong show where the team was handed over to incompetence.
So with that information, what might the issue be? To me,
Could it be the people that weren't fired? Could it be the people remaining?
Could it be the people who weren't fired? Could it be the people who were fired and then brought back? Could it be the guy at the tippy top?
You can't fire him, though.
No, you can't. So what do? You ask for a trade. Please clap.
Yeah, it could be that.
Hold on, we're not
they
done yet.
didn't make it a gong show. It's that the whole thing is just a gong show and they were in it as well.
The Oilers, the Edmonton Oilers, are a museum. They are an homage to the past. They are not interested in the future. They don't know how to help the future until the owner makes a grown-up decision. They are going to continue to stink.
But he wants to hang out with his Oilers buddies from the 80s. He does.
Oilers fans, I'm so sorry.
The Oilers.
I'm so sorry.
Put
guys.
their faith in Chiarelli, but Chiarelli proved to be wrong in his determination that heavy hockey was the way to go, which I would argue
Cop-out.
makes him incompetent.
Cop-out.
Because if Peter Chiarelli in 2015 could not see where the NHL was going when everybody else could, you notice every team's gone fast and small? You notice you could say what you want about the Bruins. All the guys from the Bruins that are heavy, quote unquote
that
heavy,
goon
are
Patrice
left over
Bergeron.
from the Chiarelli Bruins, who are also elite Olympic level NHL players. They play quote unquote heavy hockey, but those guys run the Canadian and Czech Olympic teams and the American Olympic teams. Last sentence. So I'm going to repeat the sentence before for context. The Oilers put their faith in Chiarelli, but Chiarelli proved to be wrong in his determination that heavy hockey was the way to go. Edmonton paid the price this year and last. But a new GM could fix this franchise sooner than later. What I keep asking and I keep going back to, I'd love to have Jonathan Willis from The Athletic on. I'd love to have Mark Spector from Sportsnet on. I talked to Ryan Rashog. I would love to know of any of those three outlets, even NBC. Let's have Jeremy Roenick on, see what he would do. Crazy maniac. I would love to know what you need to do to fix the team. How you fix the thing. So this is the thing. An NHL GM could fix this franchise sooner rather than later. And I could go to the moon. But I don't, again, probable, possible.
Yeah.
Big difference. What do you need to do? And the heavy lifting that needs to be done, you look at the contracts the Oilers have right now, and I would compare them to the far more skilled Phil Kessel and the far more useful at the time, Dion Phaneuf. And it took the Leafs years to move those contracts.
They're still paying Phil Kessel.
And they're still paying for the David Clarkson deal in the form of Nathan Horton.
Yeah, financially.
In 2015-2016, the Edmonton Oilers had Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Jordan Eberle, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Taylor Hall, Oscar Klefbom, Darnell Nurse. In 3 years, the GM couldn't turn those guys into a winning team that could make the playoffs.
Like, I'm not.
Would you call that incompetence?
Yes. Like, I'm not going to give him brownie points because the Oilers have prospects. Congrats, you're an NHL team.
No, you had prospects and you did.
Yes,
You traded them away and did garbage with them.
You would have had more.
Yes.
Like, it's not about, being able to go into any beer league or go up against any AHL team and having the best team there. You're going up against the Calgary Flames. You're going up against the Winnipeg Jets. You're going up against the Vancouver Canucks. Have they done a better job than any of those teams? God, no. In terms of rebuild, no, I'm not even going to say that.
Go.
I was going to say Ottawa.
They haven't proven it.
Who's got a better cupboard?
Ottawa?
Ottawa or Edmonton?
Edmonton
Edmonton
has Connor McDavid. You always had with
He's not in the cupboard, though. They're giving him points
Ottawa.
for
Ottawa. And I say
except
that
for the pick.
'cause
The pick is tough.
Yeah, Brannstrom,
first round pick.
Brannstrom's a guy that,
Yeah.
Sure.
and you've got, on the actual roster, you've got Kachuk, who was drafted last year. You've got Hatsam Bacho, who, Thomas Chabot, who's pretty outstanding. And I mean, of those NHL names, of the names that David Staples mentioned, he mentioned like 12 guys there. Are you telling me all those guys, like Kaylor Yamamoto couldn't stick it this year? Fine. He goes back. They had a great season.
Puljujarvi.
They had a great season. He didn't mention Puljujarvi in that list.
Hilarious.
David Staples, Oiler fan, did not mention the 4th overall pick.
That's why I say if
Third overall pick.
McDavid is an extremely he was 4th. If McDavid is an extremely patient man, he waits till the end of next season.
That's what he'll do. So he can.
If McDavid wants this ship turned around, if he wants to win in Edmonton, he'll tell him July 5th. You have till July 5th to unfuck this joke.
You can't wait till July 5th. That's when all the moves are done. You got to do it now. If you want this turnaround.
No, that's the deadline I'm saying.
Oh.
Right? So you'd
never be able to trade him.
You got the draft. That's their problem. Frankly, that's not Connor McDavid's problem. You have the draft to do some things. You have July 1st to do some things. And then you have a few days after to do some things. If I am not satisfied as Connor McDavid with what you've done by July 5th, Guess
Of
who's
this
not coming
year?
to camp? Yep. Guess who is going to be in God knows where on the beach?
They'll run it one more season. It's not happening this year. It's a bit extreme.
I'm Connor McDavid. I am better than you. I am better than the entire management of this team. Do what I say or goodbye.
Adam, do you think the guy who backed down for an extra penny on his car dollar on his car would have the cojones to ask for a trade?
No, because he won't even order a pizza.
I'll order a pizza.
But here's the thing in this situation.
Wait a second. I won't order a pizza.
On the phone you will, but face to face it's really hard for you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you should have seen me. You should have seen me order the burrito bowl before I came here. Yeah, it was tough.
It's insane. I've never met somebody who's afraid of ordering his own food. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But this is Steve.
Would you order a trade from your GM?
No, but in this situation, Steve has an agent.
Yeah.
And a pretty good one, too.
It's like SL.
Yeah.
He'd ask
Divert
us.
to SL.
Oh, yeah. Whenever
Ordering
I'm
your
like,
food.
I don't want to do this, I sick the Scottish girl on you, and then you're screwed.
I would forward that from the Connor McDavid at gmail.com account to his wife, who then would say, hey, to the agent, I know Steve McDavid is too afraid to talk to you and order you to do something, so I'm going to say that Steve doesn't want to be here anymore.
Listen, Iceberg doesn't think McDavid's actually going to do that. But, like, what does McDavid have to do? No, that's the whole question. What does he got to do?
If he wants to play with a skilled line mate?
What can he possibly do differently? What can he, that whole don't worry about things you can't control? Mm-hmm. What on God's green earth can McDavid do differently next season that will help the Oilers win?
I have an answer.
What?
He can do something right now.
Play net.
If he wants to play with skilled line mates, he can do that this spring at leovegas.net. He can sign up for the Matt Sundin Classic with Leo Vegas, and he can play on a line with Matt Sundin and Steve Dangle.
Yeah.
And Connor McDavid, you got to think, out of respect for Leafs great Matt Sundin, would play the left wing, and because you're playing the right wing, right, Steve?
Of course, because I can only do crossovers to the left.
By the way, there's still time to sign up. The big event is this weekend for Crown Royal. Next weekend, Steve Dangle hits the ice on Matt Sundin's wing. You want to be there for that because you want to be on the other side to push Connor McDavid down the lineup because he doesn't deserve it.
No.
I don't see him as a quitter. I see him as a guy who digs in. LeoVegas.net. Check it out. Click on Matt Sundin's beautiful face and sign up for the tournament.
Oh, the best outcome in all this is the Oilers figure their shit out. And
Yes.
Connor McDavid has success in Edmonton because their fans deserve it. And the
Yes.
NHL fans deserve to have Connor McDavid on a good team. They deserve, as NHL fans, we are being done an injustice by Saturday being the last time we can watch Connor McDavid this season.
Yes. There's another level that NHL players reach in the playoffs, and it's a shame that we can't see Connor McDavid playing that.
It's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's bullshit.
If the winners of the Leo Vegas contest aren't good enough, will you request a trade to another team?
Yes. I'll do
By
it.
the way,
I will. Well, and also, listen, I'm going to be so good that I'm going to carry my team because I got a secret weapon yesterday at the Oshawa signing.
What's that?
Someone gave me 2 medallions. They were like Leaf medallions, and that's all I thought they were. But you turn them around. There were 2 players on the medallions, 2 former Sundin line mates. One was Nick Antropov. The other, and this is how you know I'm going to be an amazing right winger, Jonas Höglund.
Oh.
I got a Jonas Höglund medallion. Try to stop me. You can't. I'm going to be amazing.
by
Are
the
you
way,
guys gonna play at all?
I believe no, it's
No.
you. That's you, buddy.
No.
Okay. What if I screw up my back?
No, you're playing.
I hope you don't.
Me too.
Yeah, the Leafs. It was suggested, I believe, by one of the writers in Edmonton that trading Ryan Nugent-Hopkins might be the only way for them to bring some skill into Edmonton up front.
Common sense. Trade more guys.
Edmonton, I'm so sorry. I'm just so
it was
sorry.
a tweet that went a little viral the other day, but here we
Oh
are.
my God. And that guy is the new AGM in
Yeah.
Edmonton,
Right?
who they brought on before hiring the GM because they eat cereal with a fork.
Let's have a quick look at the playoff race here.
Fun.
Let's start with the East. Carolina, 80 games played, 44 wins, 95 points. Columbus, 80 games played, 45 wins, 94 points. Montreal, 80 games played, 43 wins, 94 points.
Now, you were talking about, how strong the divisions are and everything. Montreal would be one win back of first in the Central. They might not make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Holy shit.
Mm-hmm. The Pittsburgh Penguins have the same amount of wins as the Montreal Canadiens. However, they have 11 overtime losses, so that puts them ahead.
Oh my God, they do?
Yeah, the Pittsburgh Penguins are 43 and 37 this year.
Wow.
In win-loss totals, but OTLs are 11. Penguins, though, you got to give them credit. They've climbed right back into that spot, and they're challenging the Islanders for home ice.
They're right there.
Okay, they are right there.
The Blues, too.
No,
they both won
we're
the
not
Ryan
talking
Reeves
about
trade.
the West. We're talking about the East,
I know.
Steven. Stop it.
Okay.
Stop it. I'm kidding. I love you.
But Iceberg had a thought.
So, of the three, do we still believe that the Montreal Canadiens can do it? Because right now, Columbus holds the tiebreak.
Who's playing who?
Columbus is playing New York.
The Rangers or Islanders?
Rangers.
Okay.
And Montreal is playing the Capitals.
Oh, and then Toronto.
And then Toronto. Now, Toronto, you got to think. I would not be shocked if Toronto lost the next two games.
I think tonight against Tampa is going to be a bit of a joke. Mm-hmm. Saturday, I would not be shocked to see a full lineup with them actually trying their damnedest.
I hope
Because
so.
they use it as a playoff warm-up. Yeah, I would hope so. Like, do Bob Cole justice in his final game. Who is Columbus's final game against?
Columbus's final game that's a very good question. I'll have to look that up. Columbus.
Okay,
Blue
and
Jackets
Carolina. I'd like to
schedule.
know. So if Jesse could look up Carolina.
Senators, Saturday.
So Carolina has the Rangers and Senators.
I remember that because that's the cool part is that all the guys that the Blue Jackets got basically were from Ottawa. So that'll be kind of fun because that's their homecoming.
And
so they
Carolina
got the Rangers,
plays New Jersey and Philly.
2 out of it teams.
Oh, boy.
And who does Montreal play? They play Capitals and Leafs. That's the toughest schedule. If Montreal makes it, gritty and heart, man. Gritty and heart.
Dude, they kicked Tampa up and down the ice the other day. And Tampa had Eddie Pasquale in net, but he was like their best player.
What happened to Louis Domingue? Is he injured?
Yes.
Oh, man, that sucks.
Or injured or sick, or I can't remember.
Evidently, I heard from a lot of Lightning fans. I said, dumbly, as I'm known to do,
What?
that the Lightning seem to be handling first place well. No, they do not. Apparently, they're really stressed out about it. 127 points, and they're freaking out. I'm like, man, come on. Come on.
And they're a team, like, again, they don't look quite like the big scary monsters that they were. It's the playoffs. It's wide open. It's stupid. It's unpredictable and ridiculous like it is every year. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If your team's in it, you got to believe you can win it. You gotta. If Montreal makes it, they're not there to be participants. If you make the playoffs, you're there to win a Stanley Cup. Don't forget that. It's amazing how often you forget that. What are we gonna? If the Leafs beat the Bruins, we're gonna hang a banner after that?
Maybe.
Maybe.
It's Toronto.
I will. In my head, there's a lot of room. But dude, then you got to win 3 more rounds. Ah!
That's the playoffs, though. Hey, at least Tampa Bay's won a Stanley Cup in living memory.
Yes.
Imagine how hard it is for teams that haven't.
Yeah, but
Like our grandparents were like, yeah, we were 9.
you know what I did today though? So I shot a Bob Cole video for Sportsnet, and we were looking at we went back and watched The Shift by Jerome Gillis. So that's from the 2004 playoff run.
Right.
Do you know how ancient footage from 2004 looks now?
Oh, it's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
No HD, all squared.
It was 15 years ago. That's it.
I know.
And it looks like I wouldn't be surprised if like that headline was next to. And also, we took Normandy today. Like it looks so old.
What's the worst scenario? Columbus not making it and no team ever going for it on a trade deadline ever again. Carolina not making it and Don Cherry coming on Saturday
I
and
told
saying,
ya.
I told you storm surge cost them the playoffs. 3, Montreal not making it, us not getting the funness of Montreal maybe knocking off Tampa in the first round and having a crazy playoffs because Carey Price, which is the worst one scenario.
The worst scenario? Probably, oh boy. okay, from a pure content perspective, Montreal missing the playoffs, all you got to write is we didn't expect anything of them, and they gave it their darndest, and now they have a shot at the first overall pick or third or something like that. It's possible. Carolina, they miss again. Again. Columbus, that's an interesting story.
Oh, man, is it ever.
They were remember, were they not in the playoffs? Or like barely in the playoffs?
I think they were like the
or like
the
a point
9
out?
seed, yeah, but like a point out.
Yeah.
It was like flip flopped based on.
And they essentially haven't moved.
Yeah.
The worst is Columbus. The worst is Columbus, but
Listen,
it will
yeah.
also be content Christmas.
No matter what, oh my God, it'd be great. Montreal, no matter what, has a positive outlook at the end of game
At
8.
this
No
year,
matter
yeah.
what, house money.
That's
Which
fun.
is why, despite their schedule, I think I think one of Carolina or Columbus is going to duff it.
What do you think, Adam? Who are the two teams out of the three?
I don't think Montreal gets in. And the reason I say that is Carolina's a point ahead. And this is not against Montreal Canadiens. I think that they know they have goal scoring issues, clearly.
Yeah.
And they will probably do everything they can to get Artemi Panarin, as will half the league. But Columbus, for me, is they've got the tiebreak. So that's number one. Number two is that they've got the weaker schedule. And number three, Bobrovsky's looking like Bobrovsky, and they've won 4 of their last 5. I don't know. I mean, that's sort of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And when you look at Columbus, even though they've got a coach who I think is dated and antiquated in his approach, who would have Matt Duchene block a shot rather than it get through to Bobrovsky, who can actually stop it. They do have Matt Duchene, and they do have guys that can put the puck in the net and make things happen offensively, and I just don't think Montreal does. I think Carolina absolutely is a lock. I think there's too much good vibe going on there.
Calvin DeHaan's out.
I know, my man, my boy, Calvin
a
DeHaan.
tough one.
Montreal, I think, are a very cool story and a very cool up-and-comer, and they are a couple moves away from challenging for top 3 in the division, quite frankly.
If Carey Price goes God mode.
As long as Carey Price, that's what's going to happen. So I just don't know how much money they have to spend this spring because of Carey Price's massive contract.
Think about this. Whoever wins or whoever makes the playoffs probably has to win both games.
Yeah, and I think Columbus has got the best chance to do that. Montreal's won 3 of their last... What is it? 3 of their last 5. Carolina's only won 2.
Carolina, the Leafs served that game to them on a platter.
Yeah.
And it was still so close, so late.
And Columbus, 4 of the last 5. I think Columbus is a lock. And I want Columbus to make it because I want more go-for-its in the NHL. I want people to follow Jarmo Kekalainen.
Yeah, I just think it's the NHL, and I think teams go, whoa, and they don't go for it for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, who is really going to be dumb enough, which the answer before I even ask the rest of the question is going to be a lot of people, but who's going to be dumb enough to be like, wow, Columbus made it by 1 point. That fully justifies going for it forever now.
Depends
got
on how
it.
they do in the playoffs.
They get
It
to the
does.
second or third round?
Yeah.
Different combo.
If they're in the conference finals, then you're like, oof. Look at Matty Duchene
And look
out
at
there.
this. Okay. Columbus plays Washington.
Yeah, so this was the other thing. Montreal against Tampa, I think, is an extremely exciting series. Columbus versus Tampa is really interesting because you got this loaded up team that is in the last seed going up against Goliath, which I think could be extremely entertaining.
Oh, that would be so interesting.
And it's a repeat of last year's first round matchup.
And
where
that.
Columbus was up.
And that.
Yeah.
But what is being lost in all this is, I think, pretty much regardless of what the top wildcard team is, assuming it's one of Carolina or Columbus, it could theoretically be Montreal. It's going to be a war.
Yep.
It's going to be a war that first round.
I'd like to see Columbus-Tampa
Come on.
because both teams have goalies that can steal a series.
I think as hockey fans, and this is sort of what we were talking about with the McDavid thing, as hockey fans, regardless of the outcome, we will be served.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
By the way, if your team, and I have a thing to say about this very quickly because we got a couple more stories to get to than the press conference, but if I tweeted this today, and somebody prompted me, and I'm going to pull your name up in just a second here. This is a tweet I actually have ready to go. Give me 1 sec.
Okay, I will. How you doing, Jesse?
I'm good. I'm just looking at how uneventful the Western Conference playoff
Katya tweeted me this, okay? Just listen to the latest STP, and I'm very disappointed that through all the crazy hypothetical Stanley Cup final scenarios, no one brought up the very real possibility of Calgary and Tampa matching up with a goal, not a goal, in Game 6.
Those are my picks for the Stanley Cup.
We said Game 7, though. But she said, remember the goal was disallowed and Calgary would have won?
Yeah, Martin Jelena, I think it was.
And I said, oh my God, you're right. We didn't bring that up. And in response to that, and Jesse, you did say this, but I'm going to say it again. I think a rematch, now that I've had time to think about it, Jesse, you are correct, as usual.
Thank you.
If your team is eliminated, the match you're cheering for is Calgary-Tampa. 15 years. Come on,
100%.
baby. Jerome McGinley could make his return.
Also, he should. He should, damn it.
Steve would be like, this will go well.
Yes.
This will go well.
They bring out both him and Vinny Lecavalier for the ceremonial puck drop, and they just start beating the shit out of each other.
Great start.
If that happened in 2019, we would know if it was a goal or not. That's another thing. In 2004, you get this grainy bullshit.
Yeah, 2019, you'd know.
You would know. Dude, did you see the goal in the Detroit-Pittsburgh game on Tuesday? Mm-hmm. I think it was Tyler Bertuzzi. Matt Murray came close to making the save of the year. Puck's in his glove. Mm-hmm. They review it. By millimeters, the puck is in the net. By millimeters. We would know. 2004. Who knows? Calgary Flames Stanley Cup champions.
The puck wasn't in the net.
We'll never know.
It wasn't in the net.
It might have been.
Glen Sather will step aside as the New York Rangers general manager and president. He's going to take on a senior advisor role. I would assume comparable to what Cliff Fletcher does for the Leafs.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing career, and he seems to be the last truly effective general manager the Edmonton Oilers ever had.
Wow. Arguably Kevin Lowe. Arguably.
Kevin Lowe had a really great summer after the lockout. Pronger, Pekka, and then Dwayne Rollison.
And then, Yeah. So arguably, and I think a lot of Oilers fans would say that too. Like, not everything all the people still there have done is bad. It's their ability to adapt that has come into question. But it's an exciting time. Exciting time if you're a Rangers fan. They're really doing this rebuild thing. Mm-hmm. They're really doing it.
Good young players. And what would you do if you were the Rangers and you have Henrik Lundqvist for the next 2 years? He didn't have a great year. And we talked about this at the end of last season when they were rebuilding. I vividly remember the conversation because it was quite spirited. But you got 2 more years with him, and you have a goalie who is taking over. That isn't named Henrik Lundqvist. Alexander Georgiev was pretty good.
He's looking all right. I don't think Henrik Lundqvist has any desire to be traded. If he ever did, like, I don't know if this is the greatest example, but like, you know who should have sold the farm for Henrik Lundqvist at the trade deadline? The Sharks.
Really? With Martin Jones?
Martin Jones has been terrible this year. Look up his numbers. You won't believe it. You will not believe it. Guaranteed. It's one of the least talked about stories this season because he's like one of the wins leaders. The Sharks have been riding him like crazy.
295. Whoa, hold on. Goals against average, which is an S stat, 295.
It's a little high. It's a little high.
Save percentage.
Yes.
896. Wow.
It's gotten worse. Yeah, last time I saw it was 898, like a few weeks ago.
Whoa,
896. He's been awful. He
still has 35 wins. That's an Andrew Raycroft type season.
They have arguably the best team on paper in the league, and they got no goalie. If you add Henrik Lundqvist to that, laughing.
Do you think that you could do a trade where if you could convince Hank to go, would you do a straight up if you're the Rangers, Martin Jones for Henrik Lundqvist?
Shit, no.
No?
No, I need futures in there.
Oh, yeah. But like, if you look at Martin Jones, he's 29, right? Mm-hmm. And that's...
I thought he was younger.
Yeah, I thought he was younger too. But he was in LA for a long time. Yeah. But like, if you look at... I'm just trying to pull up San Jose here. Let me just do this. Teams. San Jose Sharks.
You asked them for everyone they didn't give Ottawa.
Yeah, right? Well, they didn't give Ottawa anybody. They gave them a bunch of spare parts. Martin Jones is signed till 2023-24.
It's not a good deal.
Not a good deal. So, yeah,
Not
no,
a
you
good
don't
season.
do that. You don't do that.
If you get playoff Martin Jones, because I think he's put together a few good ones of those, they're fine. You go, Henrik. You got a chance to exercise your demons. You go there and win a Stanley Cup in California. You bring it back to New York. You have a parade like Ray Bork. Man, that's tough. But the Rangers are different because if they play their cards right, they're the Rangers. They have no problem attracting players.
Oh, yeah. Well, Adam Fox is refusing to sign in Calgary.
And he's probably going to go to the Rangers.
Because he wants to go to New York. He's a Ranger fan.
Yeah. The Rangers have several luxuries. One is they're actually doing a rebuild properly, and two is they have a lot of money and people actually like playing there. So it accelerates the rebuild. So Hank could still get his storybook ending, but if it doesn't look like that's going to happen, he should consider something like that. Like Ryan Miller to the Blues a few years ago, except not terrible.
Right. Which was...
Dude,
yeah.
Lundqvist to the Lundqvist to the Sharks. Or not as big of a need here, but Calgary. Calgary is Henrik Lundqvist. They win the Stanley Cup. I put them ahead of Tampa. Mm-hmm. With Henrik Lundqvist in that? Or they're at least even.
Last story before we get to the press conference. Stephen A. Smith is going to be the highest paid on-air person at ESPN. And ESPN is known for not paying. That's part of their mantra.
Oh.
Now, they pay their stars. They do. But, it's sort of like part of it is you work at ESPN.
Yeah, you want to work for ESPN?
Yeah. That's part of why I think, oh, God, what was his name? The guy who was huge in the 90s.
Mike Francesa?
No, not Mike. Mike never worked for ESPN.
What, Mad Dog and whatever?
No. Oh, God. Keith Olbermann.
Oh.
He was making, at Keith Olbermann's height, they were getting like 20 million people per sports center and watching or something. It was like some obnoxious number.
Oh, my God.
And Keith Olbermann was making $325,000.
What?
And he was like, I should be making more money. And they're like, we don't pay you more money. And then
That's not a thing we do.
And then so then he went over to Fox and made $3.25 million. They just put a zero on it.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Because Fox wanted to compete with ESPN in the early 90s, and that's sort of how
they
so
did
they
it.
had a bit of a bidding war.
They were the WCW, and he was their Bret Hart.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Keith Olbermann at the time was the number one anchor in sports.
Yeah.
That's since changed because he's done politics and whatever, and still well respected and a very smart guy and a freaking encyclopedia. But Stephen A. Smith looks like he'll be between $8 and $10 million. Now, to put that in perspective, I don't know if anybody listens to Mike Greenberg. He hosts Get Up on the on the syndicated side of radio. $6.5 million a year. PTI's Mike Wilbon and Tony Kornheiser are believed to be in the $6.5 million range because PTI, pardon the interruption, is huge. It's a very interesting thing because ESPN has been struggling. But if you could argue that one guy cuts through for them, Stephen A. Smith.
We talk about him like almost every show, and we
don't
never
even
get to
have
see
him.
him on actual television.
We don't have him on the radio up here. We don't have him on TV up here.
To me, that's preposterous. $8 million, things of that nature.
My favorite response to your thing today, when we messaged in the group, was Jesse sends the link and Steve goes, "That's a lot of crab rangoon."
Things of that nature.
Things of that nature. He is, for ESPN, by far their biggest guy, and it's kind of cool to know that he's going to be making like NBA money.
Oh yeah,
like Stephen A.
he'd
Smith.
be one of the highest paid NHL players.
Yes. Who gets more money next year, Stephen A. Smith or Mitch Marner?
That's a fun question.
8 to 10.
That's awesome.
So that's
If it's closer to 10, they're saying 10. They're saying closer to 10.
Ooh. It's probably going to be Mitch. Mm-hmm. It might not be, though. And the fact that I even have to pause is something.
Pretty crazy. Skip Bayless skipped out on ESPN to go to Fox.
Yeah, you see, because
He makes 5.5. So he wasn't making much. And those two together seemed like it was impossible you couldn't Like you couldn't find a better tandem because they were so completely entrenched in whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
That it was impossible to find a good partner for them. And
there's just not enough
Jess,
money.
my favorite thing is that Stephen A. Smith has carried that show because Jesse's always like, why are we trying to make Max Kellerman a thing? Like,
It's not a thing.
Max Kellerman's not a thing. I sent Jesse a picture of Max Kellerman the other day, and he didn't know who he was. Like,
I just know him as the guy who looks confused.
he does look confused
Yeah.
always on camera, right? But you
Because
know,
that's all he does. He's just he's there so Stephen A. Smith isn't yelling at himself.
Yeah.
He just needs a human there to yell at.
Like,
And then nobody cares what Max Kellerman's saying.
When I see the TV at the airport when I go to the States, the first thing I do is I go, wow, American television. And I go, there's Stephen A. Smith and the confused man with a beard.
it's always like he was out drinking till 3 a.m., but managed to put it together.
He's got a little bit of a sleep in his car beard.
Yeah.
A little bit. I mean, he's way more handsome and rich and successful than I'll ever be, but he does have a bit of a sleep in his car beard.
And remember when Skip went over to Fox, they made up a bunch of fake Skip Bayless supporter accounts because the show didn't do very well to start.
Yes.
And it wasn't until they found Shannon Sharp that show took off.
Yeah.
Who's great.
Shannon Sharp
love him.
and Skip Bayless as a going head to head is a much better show than what Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman are.
Yeah.
However, I am a Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp just a close second kind of guy. I love following Shannon Sharp on Twitter or on Instagram. He's hilarious.
Yeah.
I actually think he does a better job socially than Stephen A. Smith does because you could tell it's a team behind Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah.
Shannon Sharp writes his own captions.
Take a look, y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still one of my favorite tweets.
And it's like JPEG 4.
Oh, it's so good.
But it's so funny that Fox, which arguably is the lesser of the two in terms of the sports world, in terms of cachet, has found the better two tandem, but Stephen A. Smith's still able to carry the day. That's interesting to me.
Stephen A. Smith deserves the money because I've been reading a lot of the articles about, I think ESPN might be stretching Stephen A. Smith a little thin. And like he's having a conversation about football. He mentions like 5 names, none of them are right.
Yeah. Or none of them are playing. That's happened.
They did one where they were clearly like, we need an MMA segment today. And he just knew nothing. Like he just imagine going on national television in the States and knowing
we ran
nothing.
through one on this podcast.
Oh, we
Remember
did?
when we did the football and like a couple of the
Chargers.
guys weren't on the team.
Chargers.
Yeah, the Chargers.
Oh,
like
and
5
the
guys.
fight?
3 were injured, 1 was on the team.
Yeah.
The fight between this guy and that guy that was
4
3 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh no, this one. No, that's not who's fighting. Like, it was
Here's what you need in the States. You need to know the NCAA, the NBA, and the NFL. And maybe a little baseball, too.
they throw in anything else. They're like,
Yeah, you need the baseball just for the summer.
Yeah.
When there's no other sports on. But usually those big guys have those weeks off, you know?
Yeah.
In like mid-August.
And if you are talking baseball, it's really easy in baseball to just focus on the stars.
Yeah.
Where's Bryce Harper going
Yeah,
to go?
and you can catch up on baseball by the time July rolls
Yeah.
around. And it's like the All-Star game and all the other sports have ended.
100%.
Mid-June.
Now, baseball fanatics will say you can't. but anybody who's a passive baseball fan, like someone who will throw on a game while they're vacuuming,
hi.
that's enough, right?
Yeah.
That's enough. Now, here's what Stephen A. Smith said to Bob Lay at Seton Hall on an event that Stephen A. Smith is being paid to be at, and I guess they asked him about what he's about to be paid. This is from Darren Rovell, so you know, or Rovell?
Darren
Rovell.
Rovell.
Who you know is like a massively popular and very, very good name, so you
Got
know
a
this
weekly segment on Primetime Sports with Bob McCown.
right, and that's a big get for Bob. Like
didn't
that's
know that.
huge.
Yeah.
Anyway, Darren tweeted this, and this is a direct quote. Those who are great get more than those who are not. Let me be unapologetic in what I'm about to say. Everybody at ESPN or in the world of sports media does not deserve to be paid what I get paid. I don't believe it. I just don't. And I'll never apologize for it. I didn't bust my tail for all of these years for somebody to come along late and say, damn it, it's about fairness. We think that we should get paid as much as you. What? You don't generate the revenue I generate. You don't generate the ratings I generate. You ain't as popular as me. You don't resonate as much as me. You don't deserve as much as I get. That's what he has to say about his pending contract.
But how do you feel, Stephen A?
That, if you want to get into sports broadcasting, is the ticket right there.
That is the thing that you think and don't say.
No, I respect the hell out of it.
Yeah, you know
Why
what? Hey,
wouldn't you
everyone,
say it?
try that in a job interview.
Why wouldn't you say
I
that?
deserve to.
But he's right.
No,
but he's got the numbers. The thing is that you
He's
can only
right.
say that when you have 20 years of experience writing, podcasting, radio, television, and in each of them, not only are you good, you're number one.
Well, it's the sort of thing you can say when you're him.
Yeah, don't say it on day one.
Yeah,
That's all I'm
no.
saying. Yeah.
No, but you want to mention? No, what I was
You're not
saying.
gonna catch Steve Dangle saying.
I think you
this.
missed. I think I didn't.
Have you seen my YouTube?
I didn't articulate.
Okay.
What I mean by that is Stephen A. Smith goes, "This is my opinion, and I am not going to apologize for it. It's clear, it's concise, it's in short sentences, and you need to watch me say it."
It's him. In a nutshell, it's him.
Stephen
it's also BDE.
But that's what sports casting in that
What?
in that area is, right? Like there are those who go for nuanced takes, and they do very well. Bob McKenzie, Elliot Friedman, nuanced guys. Like whenever you see Bob on the panel, and they're like, "Hey, we're doing the quiz, quiz master." I don't know why they still do that. It's just a way to ask questions. They could just ask. It's not really a quiz. It's like, "Hey, what's your opinion?" But anyway, Bob will go. He'll be like, "Hey, Bob, who do you think is the most important Toronto Maple Leafs defenseman? Morgan Riley, Nikita Zaitsev, or Jake Gardner?" And Bob will say, "Well, that's interesting. It's all in how they're deployed. You see, blah, 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 blah," and he won't even give you an answer on the
he
player.
gives a smart answer,
That's
though.
exactly.
you
But
need
that's
those guys.
Bob's brand. Steven,
His brand is smart. Stephen A. Smith.
Steven's brand is smart, but I'll beat you over the head with it.
Yes.
And is that smart?
Well, he's not always smart.
He's not always right.
You
Bob
can't put
McKenzie does not make $10 million.
Also, he might be close, but Stephen A. Smith, Stephen A. Smith puts like 7 hours to air every day. It's like a 3-hour radio show, and the TV show. Maybe it's 4 hours, but you think that's easy?
Yeah, no, dude, there's a certain level of success. Like, some of the books I've read on, like, media personalities, and they say, like, what their day's like. And I'm
nuts.
like, you know what? I'm definitely gonna... there's a glass ceiling there, and it has everything to do with the effort I'm willing to put forth. Dude, I'm not willing to do that. Be on air for 7 hours every day? You're nuts. Okay, go and make
I've
your
done
10,
it. It's
go
fun.
and make your 10 million.
I've done
Yeah,
it.
you've done it. Have you done it? Oh wait, yeah, you have.
I have done it.
Yeah, but you like wanted to. You were friggin' dying.
I was dying at the end of it. Well, I was dying because, like, Stephen A. Smith's schedule is set up for Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah.
My schedule was set up for what Rogers needed me to do at what
Right.
point of the day.
But also
So
that
that's a
guy's-
little bit different, right?
But
And
that
that's
guy's like
fine.
in his 40s or 50s.
Yeah.
Come on.
But if
Like,
you
how
could,
do you do that?
If you could take, and this is the thing, it's never what's on the air. It's the amount of prep before you go on the air.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
Like-
and it sounds like he has less and less time to do that.
Yes. Well, so like when I come in here and I've got the prep done, Steve and Jesse, and I'm talking as if you're not here, Steve and Jesse are well read, watch all the games, and pay very, very close attention to everything. So they've got, and especially Steve, because it's the Steve Dangle podcast, has nuanced takes that he yells at you, but they're
Yes.
still takes, and they are opinions, and he extrapolates on things that, quite frankly, Jesse and I couldn't do in the same way. We just
'Cause I'm
can't. Now, we
dumb.
have our opinions, but there are things that you say sometimes that we've been thinking but never articulated, and I think that's the magic.
And I scream it.
Yeah, but that's the thing that Stephen A. Smith does too. Like that's what takes you to the next level. So if you're looking to get into sports broadcasting, I'm not saying copy him, but I always say pay attention to the legends. Watch the game footage. You want to be great? Watch the game footage from the people that are getting a reaction. You don't have to like them, but if they're getting a reaction, they're doing something that resonates
Yes.
with an audience, and figure out what that is.
Also, build to it. Because I'm sick of this mentality of if you work 20 hours a day, you'll get ahead. No, you'll burn out.
No, don't do that.
It's not how it works.
Can I point to a media personality who can do no wrong, who is the highlight of everything on Twitter, is the king of Edmonton, who is leading the parade of
The chorus of supporters. By the way,
chorus of supporters.
somebody sent me a chorus of supporters. And it was Keith Gretzky's face, and then 20
Jim
NHL by
Anderson
Matty's faces in the background clapping, and it's terrifying, that picture. Thank you for sending it to me.
NHL by Matty tweeted on April 1st. Remember when Jimmy Vesey was the hotshot college kid from Harvard who didn't want to play for Nash? He wanted to play for the Rangers. First 3 NHL seasons, he's been pretty average. 927 points, 28 points, and 35 points. I don't know. I think it was an error when he typed 927 and he left it up.
That's pretty
Decided
good.
to not change his tweet and is sticking by this.
He doesn't check his mentions.
No.
There's no chance.
No.
No, because, okay, Jesse.
Because it's like dunk, dunk,
Oh,
dunk.
yeah.
Like random guy with 4 followers dunking.
Go through his last, let's say, 15 tweets.
Sure.
And count how many of them got ratioed. How many of them?
And what do you count as ratio? Is that
One?
more,
The
more replies than likes?
More replies. Yes.
One, this was a reply to Greg Wyshynski, where
No.
Oh boy, I remember this one.
yeah, Greg wrote, "I like this Dello hire for the Devils.
Yes.
They've had a pretty good track record with people who were cast out of Edmonton after being maligned for years by pretty misguided sports columnists.
Funny joke about Taylor Hall.
Matty
Jimmy Matty.
VC.
tweets
VC.
back at Greg Wishy, and he says, "Hey, buddy, you don't know what?
Yeah, here we go.
Hey, buddy,
Hey, buddy.
you don't know what you're talking about. What petty, misguided sports writers? Question mark." And there are 123 comments.
It's
on
art. It's art. It's actually art. Here, keep going. Keep going.
that. Next one, 10 comments, and 1 retweet. When he says, absolutely no forechecking by Oilers in the second. He was just talking about the game. This one, another ratio, 49 comments, 5 retweets.
Awesome.
I'm not hearing from my followers who always made fun of me when I said Cody Eakin would look good as a number 3 Oilers center. I don't.
What? You know, that tweet makes about as much sense, unless the Oilers were taking on Vegas. Yeah, that tweet makes about as much sense as him going after and putting Jimmy Vesey on blast. Like, can you imagine?
Why?
Like, you know, the guy, he woke up and he was like, you know the guy I'm going to go after today? Jimmy Vesey! You can't come after me, Jimmy! What was it Stephen A. Smith said to Kevin Durant? You better watch yourself,
You don't
Kevin
want to make
Durant.
an enemy out of me, Jimmy Vesey. There could be only one Jim in hockey, and it's me. Oh my God!
I'm going for third liner, Jimmy Vesey.
I don't Vinny see any haters in my mentions.
Cody Eakin is having a surprisingly nice season. I think he has 22 goals or something ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Okay,
22
17
goal-
goal scorer, Jimmy Vesey. Yeah, 17 goals in each of his past 2 seasons and 35 points this year, a.k.a. a top-line winger on the Oilers.
That's Jimmy Vesey's number.
Yes!
And then Cody Eakin,
Oh.
this year's 22 goals, 18 assists, 40 points.
That's good.
But I think what he was saying is
Yeah,
he
look,
thought he would be good.
Yeah. But, like,
He is
why?
good.
Yeah, okay.
That's about it.
Cool.
Yeah. But, like, where'd you...
Thank you.
You can't dunk on someone who won't... How do you dunk on someone who mentally cannot be dunked on? Like, he will not be dunked on in his head. So...
At no point was Cody Eakin Edmonton Oiler. Was he ever close to being an Oiler?
No.
Nothing. He
But
just-
Jim probably said at one point, hey,
What?
Cody Eakin will look good on the Oilers.
And then, okay.
And then he's
yeah.
You know what would be amazing
I'm
is if
sure.
he didn't. And it was just like, got it!
You know what? Show me the proof. Show me the receipts, Matty.
Another one for Jimmy! Boom!
But what I love is that, like, he's reaching back to the summer of 2017 to go, see, I was right on that third liner who up until last season was a pretty good third liner. And the Oilers didn't get him because he was selected in an expansion draft. But they sure should have had him as a third liner. Here's the thing about Cody Eakin and Jimmy Vesey. You can find 40-point guys, man.
Yeah.
There are more 40-point
yeah.
guys than there are 80-point guys.
Those are interchangeable pieces.
Yes. I mean, listen, they're a valuable commodity.
Sure.
But you're going to find probably 10 times the 40-point guys that you will 80-point guys. Am I right?
I just don't.
Easier to be correct.
You're sitting there on April 1st saying, I'm going to dunk on Jimmy Vesey this
Vesey,
morning.
I'm coming for you, Jimmy. Can't I? Yo, can we just start a Reddit thread on who else wants to dunk on Jimmy Vesey?
Hi, Jim. That take is very strange. Yeah, and how's Alex Podkorowski working for you guys? What? Oh, don't look at me like you got peanut butter on your Velcro. What are you talking about, Jim?
I wish David Staples would put together eight points on Jim Matheson's tweet about Cody Eakin and Jimmy VC.
God. Oh, my God.
Well, at least David Staples was honest and he said I'm a Leafs fan or an Oilers fan. But what's interesting about that is that if he ever tries to say he's objective, like we're not claiming we're objective. We like to think that we're able to be critical.
No, he's got a fan blog, and I like fan blogs.
But that's what it is.
Yes.
Now that he said it. Now, was that ever not the case? Or has he always been sort of an editorial guy?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't
So
know.
that's fair. Then fine.
But there are,
Fine.
whatever.
Fine.
Fine.
But
He's a sports writer.
Sorry, what's the difference between someone who writes on the internet for a publication that was once printed on paper and a publication that was never?
Vetting. Like,
Okay.
there is a difference, but it's not as monumental as you might think. Or as some like to think, I would say.
Press conference.
One more piece of proof that Jim Matheson has never checked his mentions. On late March, he tweeted, "That's first NHL season in 2011 for Nugent Hopkins. He got first Hattie."
Sorry,
And
what?
he tweeted this incorrect, grammatically incorrect statement and never went back to read it. It says,
Was he trying to say it was his first?
"That's first NHL season in 2011 for Nugent Hopkins. He got first Hattie." That's verbatim.
He's down on White Avenue having a few beers.
What? Here, let me see this.
What happened there?
Let me see his thing. So I used to be fully of the mind that you need to have Twitter today. Like you need to have Twitter, otherwise you're irrelevant. I'm just looking, like he doesn't even. He does link to his stuff, or no, he just retweets it. He doesn't have to have Twitter. He doesn't have to have it. 38,000 followers.
Yeah.
Covered the Oilers since 1972. He's a Hall of Fame columnist, isn't he?
Yes.
I believe he is.
Which
Listen,
Hall of Fame?
Hockey. Whatever the award is, like he's not technically inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame, but whatever the award that they give, like his picture's there. His picture's in it. That'd be dope. Maybe I'm just jealous. I'm jealous of Jim Matheson.
Listen, we're allowed to, anybody can make fun of our takes. And our listeners often do. Always.
Yes, always.
But you take it in good stride. And Jim Matheson seems to. But also, come on, man. The takes are... Jesse's crying. Why are you crying, Jesse? Jesse's actually crying. What happened? What happened, man? Jesse's actually got tears coming out of his mouth. His face is turning beet red.
Oh my God!
I said tears coming out of his mouth, not out of his mouth. He doesn't have tears.
That's terrible.
It's tears coming down his nose. That's why, because that's where the tear ducts on Jesse's face are located. They're in his eyes, and the tears are streaming down his nose.
Why?
I don't know.
What made you laugh?
Mention it?
What? Well, I mean, we kind of have to.
All right. Someone started a crack guy Twitter account as a parody.
Sorry, what?
But it's so stupid.
What?
So somebody started a dark guy parody account where it's crack guy.
That's not nice. Come on, man.
And listen, the tweets aren't even funny. It's just that it's so alarming. It's so alarming to see crack guy in writing, and his handle is guy_crack. We love Dark Guy on the show.
That's something.
It's just alarming to see
That's something
that.
Dark Guy I think would even laugh at.
Did the Leafs win? And this guy tweets no, and he just responds, "Yeah, they did. Fuck." Sorry. All right, we're done.
All right, crack guy. That's a count that exists.
Just he's weeping.
Oh God!
Sometimes things
Caught
just
me
hit
off
you.
guard.
By the way, somebody sent me the cat with the ham on it the other day, and it still makes me laugh. Not as hard as it used to, but still quite funny.
One of the funniest things ever sent to us from a fan was 10 to 70% of the bridges to Terabithia.
No, that was Galen.
That was Galen?
Galen, the guy who handed out green peppers at your last event, brought it and changed the title with marker on the book. I still have it. Very funny.
Funny bastard. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
By the way, somebody just tweeted me something underratedly funny. I'm not even really sure that they meant to. But I tweeted, nothing has changed the narrative about Jake Gardiner being a bad player faster than 15 games without Jake Gardiner, right? Which I said on the show. And Jeff Fayette responded, he's like, if we're being honest, anyone who thought he was bad before probably hasn't changed their mind. And Leafs Chirp tweeted, I like Gardiner, and then put in stars, Ducks, as in like Ducks. But the Leafs got Jake Gardiner from the Ducks. And I think, I don't know if they were trying to be clever, but I think it was clever whether they meant it or not. So
Crack guy. Sorry.
Hey, let's do the press conference now, can we?
I think the show's over.
Oh, come on. We got to have something. I've introduced the press conference twice. Can we have one thing? One
Presser. That's what it sounds like. It's like a broken version of the TTC sound. That was alarming. It was very alarming. See you in Kitchener tomorrow,
What's the
folks?
coolest fan? This is from Danny Callaghan 7. What's the coolest interaction Steve has had on the book tour?
Good question.
Meeting Mike Schmidt was pretty dope. So I met the guy who was responsible for me eating a pepper, and he donated $10,000 to Easter Seals.
That's freaking
Oh,
nuts.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, didn't I tell you that?
No, I didn't know you met him.
Well, so here's the story. Met him at the thing, figured out who he was, picked him up. I was just like, oh my God. And then someone in line goes, hey, have him or sign a pepper for him. Or I'm like, oh yeah, that's hilarious, whatever. And then someone like 10 spots back just reaches into their bag and pulls out a pepper. So I signed it for him. So that was probably the most surreal.
That's cool.
Met a few friends who are like actually in the book, and they just happened to come to the signing. You know, people I hadn't seen in a really long time. Brian 5 or 6 was pretty cool. The girls who gave me the Dangle starter pack
That was awesome.
were pretty cool. It's awesome, man. It's all been very surreal.
Cool. All right.
That it?
Well, thank you. Hey, we'll be back next week when the Leafs have finished their season.
Who scored
Regular season.
Oh,
Game 7, 2013?
Who scored?
There's 4 goals in that game. Who scored
For the
each
Leafs.
goal?
Franzen had 2. Then it was, Franzen had the first 2. Then it was Kessel. Then it was Kadri? Or was it the opposite?
Kadri, then Kessel.
Damn it. But it was Kadri 2 Kessel.
Was it?
On like a 2-on-1, I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
there's a combination they should have tried.
Maybe before that series, yeah.
Or ever after.
Or ever after. Yeah. And the only reason they did try it was Bozak missed a bunch of games.
Right. He was the only guy in that series who could win a face-off for the Leafs, and he had like 2 broken fingers or something dumb. Anyway, hey, heads up. When we come back, like I said, our next episode will be after Game 82. It will be a playoff preview. If the Leafs play Thursday night, which I think they will, it doesn't make sense for us to do 2 podcasts before the Leafs play their first game.
No, we'll do Tuesday, Friday. Or...
Well, and I got my playoff schedule starting to kick in, so we got to talk.
Well, we'll figure out a schedule.
Wednesday, Friday.
I'll try. Might not be able to.
You'll make it work.
We'll find ways.
You'll make it work.
Steve, you have to do episodes, so we're going to make it work.
We'll make it work. But Jesse's telling me how we're going to make it work. And I don't think that's how making it work.
I think you do what I said.
I don't think anyone disagrees with that. We'll see you next week for the playoff preview episode. And that's right, the start of the NHL Bracket Challenge for the, 4th year in a row?
Yeah.
Oh, fun.
I'm going to win.
Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Brought to you by Panago Pizza. Order at panago.com and stuff your face with deliciousness.